Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I want to say hello to everyone and introduce myself. My name is Brian Moore. I'm the Director of Athletics at Eureka College. And this morning is perhaps the most unique Hall of Fame induction ceremony that we have ever had, in that it is the class of 2020 and the class of 2021. We have 10 individuals and 3 teams, all very deserving of being inducted into the Eureka College Athletics Hall of Fame here today. We're certainly happy to see everyone this morning. I do want to remind everyone, our homecoming football game is this afternoon at 4 o'clock. All of you are obviously more than welcome to stay for the game. Our Hall of Famers, the 10 individuals and the team members, are invited to stick around to be recognized at halftime on the field. I have done everything in my power to keep the rain away. I've talked to anybody that is willing to listen. The forecasts vary, so my fingers are crossed we'll have a dry homecoming victory with our football team this afternoon. I do want to say thank you again to everyone for being here. I want to say thank you to our Hall of Fame committee, 12 members that vote on the Eureka College Athletics Hall of Fame, and that has gotten us to this point here this morning. We're going to start our ceremony with something a little different this morning. As I mentioned, we have 10 individuals being inducted. Our first inductee is Sarah Deacon. She is from the class of 2006, a women's basketball player. She could not be here today, so my laptop is behind the curtain here. She is on Zoom and on standby, ready to deliver her remarks. So at this time, to get us started, I'd like to invite Ann Hoffman to the stage as she will present our first inductee, Sarah Deacon.
Good morning. First, I'd like to congratulate the class of 2020 and 2021 inductees on their well-deserved achievements. Today, it's my honor to introduce my teammate and friend, Sarah Deacon. I first met Sarah the summer before her freshman year. It was tradition for our incoming freshmen and transfers to attend summer camp. I knew this quiet, skinny freshman was going to be tough. Growing up as the youngest of 4 brothers, you have to be. During her time at Eureka, that toughness that she displayed earned her a very successful career. She was a 4-year starter and a team captain during her last 2 years as a Red Devil. She also earned all Northern Illinois-Iowa Conference honors in 2004 and 2005, as well as the Nick All Academic honors in 2005. Sarah is a career leader in steals with 306. She also tallied 1,105 points and is one of 17 players in our program's history to reach 1,000 points. Sarah is also tied for second in games played with 106 and also ranks 5th in assists. She is tied at 10th in career free throw attempts. These accomplishments are only a part of who Sarah Deacon was on the court and in the classroom. She always played smart, focused, and determined to get her hand on any ball that entered her defensive passing lane. In practices and games, Coach Shuster would always remind us the importance of getting our hand on the ball when we were on defense. Even if we could just tip the ball, it could slow down an offense and allow our defense to catch up. In each game, Sarah would give the opposing team's guards fits with her ability to get her hands on the ball. This tenacious defense rightfully earned her place as our current leader in steals. Every great steal opens the door to create many opportunities to score. A quick basket, draw a foul, and earn your way to the free throw line, or pass the ball to an open teammate. Sarah's ability to move quickly down the court was an offensive threat to any team we faced. She always knew when to push the ball to the hoop or selflessly pass the ball to an open teammate. The importance of always keeping our team centered around team basketball was always her focus and drive as she approached every game. John Wooden said a quote that best represents Sarah's athletic career. Little things done well make big things happen for you and your organization. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the class of 2020 Eureka College Hall of Fame inductee, Sarah Deacon.
all good now? Can everybody hear me? I know you can see me. Awesome. So I want to start by thanking Ann. I could not have had a more genuine, loving friend and former teammate introduce me for this induction today. Ann, you're absolutely one of a kind, and I love you more than you could ever imagine. Good morning to everyone else. Wow, I just never did I expect to be accepting such a great honor. I really wish I could be there in person with you all this morning. However, life has a funny way of interfering sometimes. So I do want to extend my sincerest gratitude to Brian for arranging this virtual option, even though there's technical difficulties, which happens whenever you need it to work. I greatly appreciate him allowing me to still be a part of the ceremony today. I cannot express how truly humbled I am to be inducted today, especially amongst the talent in both the class of 2020 and 21. I also want to extend a thank you to Kim Barth for nominating me for this induction. During my 4 years at Eureka College, I had the privilege to be a teammate to 4 other athletes who have previously been inducted into the Eureka College Hall of Fame. And now, the 0405 team, that is just truly amazing. I think this speaks to the caliber of players I had the pleasure to call teammates and that helped mold me into the player that I was during my time at Eureka College. Thank you to all my former teammates for putting in the hard work day in and day out during our time at Eureka. I wouldn't be able to receive this prestigious honor without each and every one of you. The biggest thank you possible goes out to my family, especially my mom and dad and my 4 brothers. They were always my biggest fans and believed in me no matter what. Thank you to Coach Shuster, Coach Schweitzer, and Coach Logan. Our teams achieved the results we did because we had coaches who believed in us and pushed us to reach those goals that seemed unattainable. During my time at Eureka, I had the opportunity to play with one of the absolute best teammates and all-around best person I've ever met, Molly Hardesty. Molly truly was the epitome of a team player who always brought out the best in others and pushed you to your limits and beyond. I could not have had a successful career without her. All Molly had to do was give me a quick nod, and I knew that I had that wide open back door. After our final season, Molly found a poem and adapted it to fit our time at Eureka. I feel it's fitting to describe my time and cherished memories here at Eureka, so I'm going to share that with you all today. I remember all the long, hard practices. I remember running football fields in the rain, and I remember all the work in the waiver. Funny I should miss that, but you see, I do. I remember the hot van rides home late at night. I remember hearing Coach yell, "Just get us within 10." And I remember thinking I couldn't make it down the floor again. Funny I should miss that, but you see, I do. I remember being down 17 at Concordia with 5 minutes to play. I remember everyone in the gym thinking it was over. And I remember the team's courageous fight to win. Funny I should miss that, but you see, I do. I remember senior night walking through the gym with my family. I remember our last game, hearing the final buzzer sound. And I remember taking off my jersey for the very last time. Funny I should miss that, but you see, I do. I remember crying as we sat in the locker room after our last game. I remember hugging and thanking my teammates. And I remember thinking it would never be this way again. Funny I should miss all that? No, because you see, I always will. I want to extend a congratulations to the rest of the inductees today, and thank you all again for allowing me to be inducted into such a well-respected group of athletes from Eureka College. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. We have 3 teams that are going into the Hall of Fame today. As I mentioned earlier this morning, they're all very deserving. Men's and women's basketball at Eureka College has a very rich tradition, both long ago, not so long ago, and present. We have 2 basketball teams going in today, a men's team and a women's team. And at this time, I'd like to invite head coach Dave Darnell to the stage as we will be inducting the 1985-1986 men's basketball team. Coach Darnell.
First of all, I'd like to have my team please come up on the stage right here. And if Coach Cox could come right here next to me, I appreciate that. As you can see, we had a tremendous turnout. And we had players coming from Dallas, Texas, Seattle, Washington, besides all over the state of Illinois and Chicago.
We're still coming, Coach.
That's good. Now you can see how hard time I had handling these guys. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for their election of the 1985-86 men's basketball team into the Eureka College Athletic Hall of Fame. I thank you players and the families who are with us today. First of all, I'd like to mention that of this great team, there's no longer two members of the team with us. They were very important to the success of our team. First was Associate Coach Dennis Dighton, and the second is EC Curtis Goodman. Curtis had a terrible accident, and I'm so happy to say that his parents and family are here today to receive Curtis's Hall of Fame plaque, and his children will receive the plaque on his behalf. I'd also like to mention that I lost two other former student administrative assistants just recently in Henry Hank Huntsinger, who was administrative assistant in the late 70s, early 80s. And following him was Jeff Panama Stevens, and they're both dearly missed and respected. It is my honor to introduce my assistant of the team, to announce the accomplishments of the team, and to introduce the team members. Coach Chris Cox is a very successful president and CEO of Poliquin, and he might say different because I don't know how to pronounce it, Youth, Family, and Service Organization. Chris is very successful. Once he left here, I thought he was going to go maybe into the coaching area, but he's serving many young people in his organization today. Coach Cox.
Thank you, Coach. We have a problem. I won't touch it again. Thank you and good morning. It's my privilege to have the opportunity to lift up the accomplishments and introduce the inductive class of 1985-86. Boy, it's hard for me to stumble on it. It's been so long ago. As we look at the accomplishments of this team, I believe it's important that we stop for a second and really start with Coach Darnell and lift up his legacy and the impact that he's had on this university and our basketball program. Coach Darnell was blessed to be the head of the organization of 20 seasons as the head coach for Eureka College. Of those 20 seasons, 13 of his teams qualified for the NAIA playoffs. 7 of those teams, as of today, will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's also important to talk about Coach's legacy more than just the wins and losses, and including the national championship. His legacy is much broader than that. Coach, in many ways, you have touched all of us. You know what? I should stop here for a second. When we talk about Dave, you all get the fact we're also talking about Bonnie as well, right? So it's Bonnie and Dave, Dave and Bonnie. Bonnie, we love you. We love you. But what's been so powerful and the impact that he's had on me and so many of my colleagues is he's had the ability to create a real legacy and a family. There's been hundreds of men who's had the opportunity to come through this institution as a result of Coach Darnell. And his impact on all of us has been broad. No matter what color you were, if you were born on the right side of the tracks or not, if you came from an affluent family or for a poor family, or if you came from no family at all, and if you were the star of the team or someone like me that just consistently showed up, you are welcomed and embraced in Dave and Bonnie's family, and we thank you for that. We've had the opportunity to ask 3 of our members of this team if they would take a minute and share with you their experience, and I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to announce and welcome to the podium Hall of Famer Greg Sugar Nunn.
Thank you and good morning. It was so fun playing with this class. It was great. I mean, just look at them. I think, we're a little bit above our playing weight, but we can still roll the ball out there and get it down. I think we could. We learned so much from each other. We made each other better. We held each other accountable. And I always have one saying, iron sharpens iron. Some of our best games, practices, were not actually during our conference games or non-conference games or during practice. It was during those Sunday afternoons where there was no coaches, no fans, no refs, just you and your game. And at that time, Big Rob didn't want to play with Big Al. He wanted to play against him. Iron sharpens iron, make you better. Never wanted to play with Curtis Goodman. Wanted to play against him. Curtis was a beast. If I can stay in front of him, I'm getting better. The same thing with, Big Mike. Big Mike wanted to shoot against point guard Shake. They had battles all the time. Iron sharpens iron. That's made us better. Another thing that we did was we trusted each other. We trusted that we were going to make each other better, hold them accountable. And on a couple of road trips in the vans, going through cornfields and everywhere else that we went, boys will be boys, so we had a chance to kind of open up. And as, we alluded to earlier, don't care where you're from, what side of the tracks, affluent, non-affluent, in the country, in the city, you start talking and you understand that, we're living lives as men and growing men. And we finally opened up to one another, and that trust factor along with the talent, because we were loaded at talent, loaded. And after that, the conference and the other teams had no chance at all. So I'm looking at these guys. You guys, all grew as men, helped me grow as men, helped Dave grow as a man, help everybody else here. Congratulations to this team.
Good morning, everyone, and congratulations to all the inductees and your families. Have a wonderful day. I think the big thing is, without this team, the following year, the records that we set the following year do not happen. It started with this team. When we got to 87, we were ready to go because of what happened this year. I've been fortunate enough to coach for over 30 years, and I always talk to my team, and that word chemistry comes up. I don't think the word should be chemistry, it's respect. Everyone up here respected each other. And that's tough when you get a large group of guys together like this and they all want to be that starter or that star. It didn't matter on this team who you were. Everyone had a role and everyone knew the role and everyone embraced the role. And when it got down to it, the respect that we had for each other was the difference. And as Coach mentioned, Coach Dighton came in this year. This was his first year coaching. And I had the pleasure to be with Dennis for the 2 years that I was here playing and then 1 year coaching. And the passion that I have for coaching now, I learned from Dennis. I didn't know it at the time, but as I look back, Dennis was a big part of that. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. To the college, the administration, the athletic department, members of the Hall of Fame committee, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. we got a chance to really experience Eureka College. I like to say we were part of the iconic freshman class that came in the fall of 1983. And in that gym, there were over 70 basketball players all trying to compete. And when Greg and Kronk talked about how we competed, you look at these guys. I've never been around guys where everyone can play at a very, very high level. They were all stars on their high school teams, and now we're trying to fight and do something together to win. And I would be remiss if I did not mention my guy, Curtis Goodman, because he was a part of that iconic class. And our hearts and prayers go out to his family as well as to Coach Dighton. But Curtis was one of the guys that made us go. His tenacity, his quickness, his athleticism, and his charismatic way just kind of made us all want to play and do better. And so then that leads us into the magical season that we had. So we go from being this iconic freshman class, and now we mature. Now we start picking up pieces. We get Big Kronk is transferring. We got Eric there. We got Woodoo's coming in. JJ's coming in. Then we got Durley, and we're getting all these guys like, man, we're starting to think we're pretty good now. And we showed it. We went out and we won, 13, 14, 15 games in a row, but not realizing at the time that we were, doing what we were doing. And it was just an incredible experience. And Coach Darnell allowed us to play. We all got chance to get out there and kind of show what we can do. And it culminated to a really, really special season. So in closing, what I like to say is if you all are golfers, you probably saw the Ryder Cup this past weekend, and they won in dominant fashion. And Coach Steve Stricker said that is the best team of all time until somebody beats them. Well, at the conclusion of the 1985-86 season, we were the best team of all times. And so with my teammates, I leave you with this. Together we win, together we won, and today we go into the Hall of Fame.
Well done, well done. Over the last number of decades, there's been passionate debate of which of all of the men's basketball team is the best. Many times these debates, which can become very passionate, have happened in Dave and Bonnie's TWW room, usually well into the evening, and most of the basketball aficionados are well-oiled, so you can understand the passion. And we're also mindful that there's a long history of quality basketball here at Eureka. Brian lifted that up. But which is the best teams for Eureka? I would like to share with you why we believe that the 85-86 team is indeed the best. There's 4 members of this team that's in the Hall of Fame. Greg Sugar Nunn, Rick Ice Taylor, Tom Dooley, and Alan Big Al Wright. I'm quite confident that there will be more individual names added to the hall that's on this stage today. I'd also like to identify and share with you that they had an overall record of 21-5, the most wins ever for a basketball team here at Eureka to that point in time. They're also selected by the NAIA in the district playoffs. They were seeded 5th, and at that time, that was the highest seeded Eureka team. The losses that came that year was to larger scholarship schools. We won the Prairie College Conference Championship with a 10-0 record, undefeated in the conference, and undefeated at home. And if we had technology, a number of my brothers up here wanted us to play the theme song, Welcome to the Jungle. We couldn't figure that out today. Also identify the longest winning streak in school history at that point in time, 16 games. The highest ranked NAIA at that time, 3rd. Led the NAIA state in defense. By the way, friends, for most folks that looked at this team from the outside would identify and lift up the high-powered octane offense. And did they run people off the floor? But I would, for those of us on the inside that was paying attention, I would suggest to you that this team found its character on the defensive end of the floor. This team led the state NAIA in defense. This team found its character and its heart on the defensive end. No one pushed this team around. They led the conference in defense as well. And we all remember the great strategy and the great victory over McHenry College. Run your offense, don't shoot. Let's get to 15 in the shot clock and under. Some of us on this stage may have wondered if that philosophy was going to work. Coach was right, and it did. Coach prepared all these notes for me, and I'm going through and making sure I get it all out here for him. I think because of the time, let's identify now, if I could ask Brian to help us, let's introduce this year's team. Start off with Jeff Whaley. Jeff Wooters. Rob Cronick. Eric Burkett. Michael Harris. As we've lifted up, we've lost one of our teammates, and we're very pleased to have their family with us, his family with us today, and stepped in on his behalf. If we could ask two of his children to come up, please. Spencer and Olivia, please come up and accept on behalf of your father. Jay Carlson. Hall of Famer, Alan Big Al Wright. Mike Kaufman. John Jones. Hall of Famer, Greg Sugar Nunn. Matt Krieger. Boy, let me make sure I haven't forgot anybody up here. We got it. I think. Oh my God. Robert Hell. Hall of Famer Tom Dooley. Coach David Darnell. On behalf of the team, we thank all of you. Gentlemen, congratulations.
I'd like to present Chris Cox with his plaque. Chris, thanks for helping me today and for helping with the team. And I'd just like to leave one thing. Michael Harris brought it up. I developed a slogan many years ago called Together We Win. And it means, when I developed that, I don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, Protestant or Catholic. I don't care if you're 5'5" or 6'5". I don't care if you're handsome or average looking. They all think they're handsome. And I don't care if you're an A student or C student. If we're going to change the program around at Eureka College, we're going to have Together We Win. And that's what my teams did, and that's what this team did. Congratulations, fellas.
Our next team inductee is the 2013 Eureka College football team. I would like to invite our Hall of Fame head coach, Kurt Barth, to the stage.
Good morning. Thankful for the opportunity to be up here. Not so thankful for the opportunity to follow Coach Darnell and his group. They have set the tone here many times, and they are a very tough act to follow. The Together We Win mantra that they've lived are lessons that are still valuable today, and valuable that we teach them to our teams, and still echo through the halls of the Reagan Center and really throughout campus. So congratulations, Coach, and to your team, and we appreciate the lessons you've helped us learn and continue to instill within our programs. Congratulations to all the inductees today, all the teams, all the individuals. It is quite a group, and it's certainly an honor to be up here representing one of our teams in football, but also having a connection to multiple individuals being inducted today as well. One of the great things about homecoming is getting so many people back on campus and involved back with the athletic department. And it's been great over the past couple days, and certainly today being one of those. But two of my coaches from the college level are here today, two men that influenced my life and my career. And I'm very thankful and was grateful for the opportunity to catch up with them today. So Coach Crouch, Coach Fletcher, welcome back, and it's great to see you guys. Now, as I talk about our team from the 2013 season, guys, I'll have you come up here in a second, but I want to talk a little bit about them first. This is a group that many of you may know or may not know. When I was hired as the head coach in 2009, the first meeting that I walked into with our players, there were 29 guys sitting there. And that was in January. I was still working at Eureka High School at the time, so kind of balancing both positions. By the time we left that spring, our team was down to 22 guys. So we had a lot to climb out of, I guess, when it comes to rebuilding our program. This group I always call my first full recruiting class because this was the group that I was able to go out to the schools and visit and really build relationships with and start to get them excited about our vision for the program. So it's not that my first class didn't believe in that, but this was really the first class that we were able to actively recruit and buy into the vision of our program. And that's certainly what they did. It wasn't easy for them. They came in and all had to play pretty much right away as freshmen. Going back to that first year, we had some tough games. We finished 2-8 that year. But those guys decided to really buy in and bond together. Much like Coach Darnell and his teams talk about Together We Win, they came together, pushed each other to be better on and off the field. That's what this group did. and I was thankful for that. Their sophomore year, they went to 4-6, a lot more competitive games, and really started to instill the things in the program that we wanted to see. Their junior year, again, were 4-6, probably could have squeaked a couple games out and been on the top end, but again, all throughout that process, they didn't back down. They kept getting better, kept pushing each other, and then finally they had a breakthrough in 2013, and that's why we're here today. They finished with an 8-2 record, which is the third best record in program history. Finished 13 points off a conference championship, and some statistical notes on them. Defensively, they were, I believe, second all-time in program history in points allowed per game that year, just a little over 17 points. Offensively, we were a very efficient offense, averaged about 28 points a game. So really had a phenomenal group there. As I kind of go back to me, what makes this group special is the amount of trust they put in each other and the amount of toughness they showed on and off the field. We all know that life hits us every day with different things that require both physical and mental toughness. These guys displayed that all the way through, and I think they kind of helped set the foundation for where our program is at now. And we're certainly excited about where we're at now, but to me, it goes back to this group of guys buying in, sticking together, pushing each other to be the best that they could be. But then also, as new guys came into the program every year after them, they held them to that same standard. They didn't talk down at people. They pulled up and lifted each other up to the accountability that we needed to make our program successful. So the other day, we had an FCA huddle meeting on campus with our current guys, and one of the message was lay it down for your team. And that is what made this group special. They absolutely laid it down for each other. They didn't care about individual accolades. They didn't care who scored the touchdowns, who threw the touchdowns, who made the tackles. They bought into each other and made our program better, and that's why they're here today. So guys from the 2013 team that are here, please join me on stage and enjoy your honor. This is a small part of the group, but it's always great to have guys back on campus. Right now, I'm going to have one of the team captains, I will have Jake Carls come up here in a second. Guys, Blake Robus was our quarterback in 2013. Blake is currently the offensive coordinator at Shorter University in Georgia. They're getting ready to play the number 4 team in Division II tonight, so he couldn't be here, but wanted to say thank you for welcoming him in as Blake transferred in that year. Made him feel a huge part of the team, and Blake was, but he wanted to thank you guys for that. So right now I'm going to bring Jake Carls up, and he'll tell you a little bit of some stories from this team.
Thank you, Coach Barth. Thank you for Eureka College and everybody involved in making this event and homecoming weekend possible. I know that I speak for all the guys that are up here today when I say thank you, Coach and Eureka, for everything that you've given us. The 2013 Eureka College football team was a bunch of really different individuals. We all kind of came together. We butted heads at times, but we formed a bond that was stronger than a brotherhood. Every chance that we had, we were always together. A majority of us all lived on the same floor together, and if the walls of Upper Ford could talk, the paint would be peeling off. The 2013 season was partly made possible by a meeting that we had at the end of the 2012 school year. No coaches, just players, and we got everybody into what was then the mini gym, locked the doors, and Frankie, who is another personality who is emotional, much like myself, but a little bit on the calmer side. Said, guys, there's a train coming. You're standing on the tracks. You either need to jump on or get out of the way, because we're not stopping until we have a winning team in a conference championship. That we did not get that conference championship. In my opinion, we are the conference championship, or we are the conference championship team for the 2013 season, losing to Greenville by 1 point on a botched call. And then, but we did get that winning season, and none of that I truly believe would be possible if it wasn't for the guys on this team that were willing to step up and stand for each other. That season, I know for me, will always hold a place in my memory and in my heart, whether it's a hard catch by one of the receivers and Anderson clearing the way for a streaking run up the middle by Corey, a big hit by the one and only Stu McGinnis, Stevenson dropping back into coverage and getting that pick six up in Morris, Duffy with that long, flowing, beautiful hair, and Frankie giving us that hyped-up pregame speech and breaking us out before every game and giving those crushing blows to our opponents. This group was special. This group fought hard, week in, week out. And through it all, we all stuck together. We were inseparable, as I said before. The majority of us all lived together, like I said before. And on the weekends, even out of the season, we were still competitive, having WWE wrestling matches, throwing each other all over the place. But for me, the biggest highlights for that season are bringing back the Lincoln Bowl trophy back to Eureka College, and then going into the heavy package on short yardage. That was when the three linebackers would go in. None of us knew what we were doing. We just know, put your head down, go forward. We were going to move the pile. Now, I know that closing out senior day with that 8-2 record that year, that was an emotional day for all of us. I know that after the game, I just wanted to be with my guys and try to relive some of the memories that we shared over the 4 years that we had together. But now we can look back and we can still share those memories. And when people now ask what I miss most about Eureka College and playing football here, it's not the games, it's not the accolades, it's none of that. In fact, it is spending the time with the guys in the dorms, the road trips, hotel Olympics, and of course, celebrations after the games. Those are the memories that are going to stick most with me. And this team will now always be remembered in Eureka College Hall of Fame. And when we're all old and gray, like Frankie and Corey Dawson, we'll be able to still have those memories and sit and laugh. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today, and just want to say thank you to all who made this possible. Thank you.
Okay, now join me in welcoming these guys individually, and if Brian, you'll help me pass out the plaques. It's kind of a challenge getting this many guys to come back. We weren't sure who was coming, but this is an outstanding group. We'll start just right here. Frankie Bray. Austin Blair. Nate Lewis. Matt Stevenson. Nico Rivera. Jake Bain. Taylor Huber. Darrell Baugh. Cody Followell. Alex Anderson. Stu McGinnis. Corey Dawson. Matt Moggin. Rocky Boyer. And Everett King. And finally, Jacob Carls. Guys, I appreciate all you did to help build our program, and as we step out on the field today, I know that you're stepping out there with us as you help lay that foundation for what we've got going on. So thank you very much.
The head coaches of the two teams that were just inducted into the Hall of Fame are the winningest head coaches in their programs. Coach Darnell for men's basketball at Eureka College, Coach Barth for football at Eureka College. We're about to meet a third. Coach Sandy Shuster is the all-time winningest coach in Eureka College women's basketball history. And the 2004-2005 women's basketball team is being inducted today. Coach Shuster, I'd like to invite you to the stage.
Heart of a Champion by Nelly was a theme song for our team's basketball, as everything this team did, from games, practice, running, football fields, work in the weight room, summer workouts, summer camp, scrimmages, surface work, and most importantly, academics. They approached like champions. They were going for gold, laser focused, driven to win the Nick title. They were a halftime away from it. We fell to Rockford College in the title game. This team is the only team, and will forever be, to play for the coveted Nick Conference title in 10 years of competition in this very highly competitive conference. This team has waited long enough to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and there's many reasons for that. But now is the time to celebrate. I'm honored and privileged to be inducting them, and I thank the Hall of Fame committee for recognizing their body of work, and to Kim Holdenrid Barth, who helped in the nomination process, and also to Ann Edens, who inducted Sarah Deacon. Great speech, Ann. I also want to thank Coach Rigsby, student coach Devin Sloan for their assistance with this team, and to all the other coaches who helped them develop along the way. Coach Logan, Coach Myers-Jones, Coach Stoner, and Coach Schweitzer. This team started coming together in 2002, 2003, when Kelly Adams Stanley, Molly Hardesty, and Sarah Deacon joined Jess Reardon, and they formed the nucleus of the team. Kelly brought good size, defense, and rebounding in the post. Molly, even though she's not with us physically, will always be in our hearts. She brought intelligence, passing, and scoring. Jess could play any position, and she did. She played all of them. But finally, we settled in on Jess' position in the post. And she really learned to use that low block and post up. And she had great free throw shooting skills. She was a scorer. And that unit began to mature. They were joined by Kim Holdenrid Barth. She brought all kinds of versatility in the guard. She loves the game. She plays great defense. Mandy Sistek Smith joined the team in 03-04, and she brought a strength and intensity and depth in the postgame. Then, by the time the talented freshmen joined the team, especially Nicole Fisher-Zazada, who was a great athlete, she could play all over the floor, brought a lot of versatility, and Brittany Garner, our three-point specialist. It all came together in 04-05. The team was mature, focused on their goals, and had the team leadership they needed so I could go play golf. Seriously. They could coach themselves. They knew what to do. They knew what it took to win. But most importantly, they wanted to do it as a team. This group of 8 players played in all 28 games, logging many, many minutes. Many games were won with great defensive rebounding or steals, and many games were won at the free throw line. But most importantly, as you've heard this morning already from Sarah, this team was very effective, and their team play came together in defense, and they led the NIC in defense for 2 years in a row. This was quite an accomplishment considering the NIC teams that we were up against. Still to this day, area coaches say to me how amazing it was to watch you all master the run and jump defense. And it was full court pressure, 94 foot for 40 minutes. Coaches say to me, I can't get my players to play defense. I say, it's what you emphasize. The team's achievements were a 21-7 overall record, third best in history of the program, a 12-2 record at home, second place in the NIC, 8-4 record. We turned 2 of those losses around and 1 in overtime. My favorites being at Aurora and here at home against Illinois Benedictine in the tournament run. We were here at home. We won that game in overtime. The gym was packed. We had such great support from Eureka College, and it was so fun. We won our EC Classic. We set records for assists. That was very, very important to the team. We wanted to be really good passers and set everyone up for success. We also broke the record for total 3 points made in a season. We had all tournament players at Elmhurst Invitational Tournament, Jess Reardon and Sarah Deacon. At the EC Classic, it was Molly Hardesty. Our all-conference players were Jess Reardon, a 3-time all-conference player, and Sarah Deacon. Molly Hardesty earned honorable mention. Individual NIC players of the week were Sarah Deacon and Jess Reardon. NIC all-academic team was Jess Reardon and Sarah Deacon. President's honor roll was Molly Hardesty. We also had a COSIDA academic All-American in Jess Reardon. Career-wise, there were 4 1,000-point scorers, and 2 of them broke the scoring record. And now there's 4 Hall of Fame members: Jess Reardon, Nicole Fisher, Molly Hardesty, and today's inductee, Sarah Deacon. Sarah represented the team this morning when she spoke already. We worked hard, we played hard, we studied hard, and we graduated. That's what we got done. We also had a lot of fun along the way, and I'll never forget your antics. Still to this day, they make me smile. Congratulations to the team and to all the inductees today. And now we'll present the plaques for the ones who are here. If Jessica Reardon could come up, and Kim Holdenred Barth, and Brittany Garner. I believe Kelly had to leave, but come on up and get your plaques, girls.
Thank you, Coach Shuster. We'll transition back to our individual inductees now. Our next inductee is a 2020 inductee from the Eureka College class of 2015. It's Jacob Carls. So at this time, I'd like to ask Coach Barth to return to the stage to introduce Jake.
I apologize in advance. You're going to have to listen to me a little bit more today yet as well. But it is truly an honor to be back up here representing Jake Carls as a member of the Hall of Fame class for this year. As Jake talked a little bit about the 2013 season, he was a major part of that. Obviously, he's one of our leaders. So I'm going to go over a few of his stats and then talk a little bit about what made Jake so great. Because stats are one thing. Stats will come and go, but people are going to remember you for who you are and what you do outside of sports and stats. So, but Jake was a 3-year all-conference player for us, all UMAC. First team, I believe, his junior and senior year. Second team, I believe, his sophomore year. Was a 2-year captain for us. He is our all-time leading tackler. Now, our stats, I know Brian will appreciate this. Our stats go back to 2000 for defensive stats. And that's what these go back to. But Jake was our all-time leading tackler with 371 total tackles, 129 solos, 242 assists, 33 tackles for a loss, 7.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions. And you know those tell a small part of what Jake meant on the field. But what truly made Jake great was his influence as a leader. Jake was a young man that fought tooth and nail for everything that he got. He was a leader that demonstrated the ability to go above and beyond, both in the classroom, in the weight room, and on the field when it was all said and done. And never left a stone unturned to improve himself, to make himself be the best that he could possibly be. And that was infectious throughout the whole group. As the young men that were up here earlier, Jake was the leader of that group in terms of setting the way and holding guys accountable, and guys jumped on that really fast. And that's a testament to who he is. He's still the same hardworking, loyal individual that he was, so many years ago when we recruited him coming in. He was one of the first guys in that recruiting class to jump on board and really kind of help set the tone for that class and really our program as we move forward. The things that made Jake great on the field is he was like another coach on the field. We haven't had a guy like Jake since he left in terms of calling our defense and calling blitzes and getting everybody in the right spot. And that's not a shot at anybody that's still in our program or has ever been. Jake was just truly unique. He was Coach Linder's voice on the field. Coach Linder's our defensive coordinator and has been since 2010. But Jake was really calling things before Coach Linder was even throwing him through the headset. He just spent a lot of time watching film, spent a lot of time analyzing, and just had natural God-given instincts to play linebacker. And Jake, this isn't a shot at you. He's not the fastest guy that we've had play the position. He's not the quickest guy that we had play the position, but he was making plays before guys that were faster and quicker than him. He just had a natural instinct and a natural gift to play football, and that carried over. He worked hard. He did the same thing in the classroom. He's still doing that today, and very proud to honor Jake Carlson today as a recipient into the Hall of Fame. So, Jake, come on up.
Thank you, Coach Barth. I can honestly say that being a player for you was probably one of the greatest honors and accomplishments that I may ever have. I would like to thank my teammates, coaches, the faculty and staff, and my family. Thank you for your encouragement and guidance over my time at Eureka College. Without you, none of this would be possible. Also, thank you to all of those that go behind the scenes here at Eureka College to make this weekend happen. It's truly homecoming at Eureka College that always seems to bring the best out in the campus and the people that are on it. Now, when I was being recruited by Coach Barth, I was coming off of a really unsuccessful high school experience with football. I had not received any conference honors. I had just a hard time playing for some of the coaches that I had at that time, but I knew that I loved the sport of football, and I knew I wanted to continue playing after high school. When I started talking to Coach Barth, I got the sense that he knew what I was feeling and thinking before I could say it. And I can remember a conversation that we had, and he said, "I can tell that you have the chip on your shoulder, but, you know, as a freshman, you might only get to see playing time on special teams." And to that, I remember I started laughing a little bit, and I said, "Coach, we'll see. It's a long time between now and week one." Well, shortly after that, I was talking to some other coaches, and I could feel the pieces starting to fall into place. And I was talking to a coach from a different school, and that coach asked, "So where are we in the ranks of your choices?" And I said, "To be honest, I'm leaning towards Eureka. I feel like that's going to be where my home is for the next 4 years, and I feel like Coach Barth is building something special there." After saying that, that coach started to laugh. And I said, "What was so funny?" And he said, "Eureka College, we could beat them with our freshman team." At that, I started laughing, and he replied, "What's so funny?" And I said, "That may be true, but I'll see you in the playoffs in 4 years." After getting off the phone, I immediately called Barth to let him know I had made my decision. I was going to be a Red Devil, and I was going to play at Eureka College. Though we didn't make the playoffs, I was right in some aspect that there was something being built here at Eureka College that I knew I needed to be a part of. That first year was one that most of us would like to forget. Looking back now, it sticks out. I reported to camp at 180 pounds, scared to death of what I got myself into playing Division III football. Thinking this is going to be an especially long season after hearing Coach Linder yelling, "Frankie, can you help me out here?" "Bray! Carlos! What are you doing? What's your read? Are you blind?" I thought I had made the worst mistake in my life. But I kept thinking to myself, there's a reason that you're here. Stick it out. Don't quit now. At the end of the first week of camp, we had our first team scrimmage, and I knew that I had to make a statement as I was rotating in at second team at weak side linebacker. During that scrimmage, as I was rotating in, I had gotten burnt deep a couple of times and was in the wrong zone and just was feeling really discouraged, especially because Sam Durley had thrown all over us. Not throwing any shade at Sam, I just took it personal. But I knew that I had to do something to make a stand and make it show that I was more than just a second team player. I remember taking my read, and in the back of my head, I hear, "Jake, what's your read?" Well, I saw the running back going out for a screen, and I made the read, and as soon as the ball touched the receiver's hands, I unloaded all that I had into that hit. I came up, teammates were yelling, coaches were yelling, everybody was just going absolutely nuts, and I was going ballistic. Now, if you would ask any of the coaches or players from that time, I'm sure that they would tell you that I was an emotional player and had a little bit of a temper, but that's just what I brought to the table. That's who I was, and they accepted me for it. I believe if Coach Logan is here, he could tell you about that hit because he has a scar from a celebratory headbutt somewhere. But that's a story that you may have to get from him. But that play is what set the tone for my college career. That play changed me from a weak side linebacker to a middle linebacker and from a second team player to a first team player. And I got moved to middle linebacker because Coach Linder, as he would say, that kid's a thumper. He just likes to hit. And I did. I thrived in it. The more they came at me, the better I got. People ask me all the time if I could go back, would I do it again? Do I miss it? And I say, absolutely. I would do anything to just get one more good hit in. I would do anything to spend one afternoon on the field with those guys again. Now that the time has came and passed, that the fire for football has been put out inside me, there has been another fire that's been lit. The fire to become a great dad, a great husband, a great son, and a dedicated and hardworking individual. All these traits came and started here at Eureka College from my time here as a student athlete and from Coach Barth. I can honestly say this is an amazing honor and opportunity, and thank you to everybody who helped me along the way. I need to stop and say thank you most of all to my teammates and the guys up front who did their job so I could stand here today and be giving this Hall of Fame speech. Guys like Josh Gerard, Craig Wilson, Dan Bolson, Austin Blair, Matt Stevenson, Stu McGinnis. Because of you, I'm able to be here. Thank you. I made so many good friends and memories here today, and this is the place where I met my wife. And most importantly, I graduated from here, which, by the way, did you know, Ronald Reagan also graduated from here. It's awesome. Anyway, thank you. This is all a great honor and opportunity, and go Red Devils.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you, Coach Barth. Our next individual inductee is from the class of 2020. He is a Eureka College graduate of the class of 2006. His name is Kevin Davis. He will be introduced today by Keith Davis. Keith, please join me up here.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be in front of you and beneath the elms to introduce my number one rival, my greatest competition, my nemesis, my partner in crime, the person I've literally known the longest, my twin brother, and my best friend into the Eureka College Hall of Fame. Some may, some may think I'm introducing a team, but in fact, this is all one person. From 2004 to 2016, he owned the Eureka single-season sack record, and from 2004 to 2017, he held Eureka's single-season record for tackles for loss. I can sit here and ramble about his stats as a football player in high school and college and what he's done as a defensive coordinator currently, but it's his love for the sport, his tenacity, his hunger and drive for why we're here today to honor him. I haven't seen anything like it, and I doubt I ever will again. This is your day, bro, and it's an honor that I'm able to share with you. So let me step aside and welcome to the Eureka College Hall of Fame. Teammates and coaches knew him as the Monster, coined by Coach Crouch, I believe, but I know him as my better half, Kevin Davis.
I'm not a public speaker, so I don't like speaking in public. My brother's better at it, so I'm glad he introduced me. But I just got a list of thank yous that I want to go through. First, I want to thank God, my Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, just for His grace, mercy, and love. I want to thank Eureka College and Eureka College Hall of Fame committee for this honor. I know it's tough making these decisions. This day is very special to me. This honor is very special. Does anyone know that Eureka I love this school like none other. There's so many friends and faculties and staff that I met here that have influenced my life and done great things for me. I'm bringing a lot of people into this Hall of Fame with me because it took a village, a team to build a monster. It took a lot of people to get me here. So I want to start off with my family first. I want to thank the King family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews. Thank you just for supporting me every year in and out from day one. Thank you for loving me and supporting me all the way. I want to thank Anisha, my girlfriend, for joining me here. I want to thank my heartbeat, my son, Caleb Israel Davis. I love him to death. He's not here with me today, but he is everything to me. He's my heartbeat. I'm going to get to a few people that are very super special to me. My brother LeVar, Jerome Cranford, and PD Ryan Crooks. Thank you guys for getting us to come here, get me and Keith to leave Blackburn. Please don't send your kids to Blackburn. For getting us out of Blackburn to come here to Eureka and create the lives that we did here and create relations that we create here. Love y'all for that. But to my, everybody wonder, who is Kevin Davis? Like, who am I? I am a sum of all my siblings. What they've given me throughout life and through every step of the way, the fights we've had, and we've had a lot, just the commitment to making sure we stood firm in what we believe and how we carried ourselves. So who I am is a piece of every one of them, from my sister Beverly's creativity and energy, to my brother Joe's leadership and focus, my brother Anthony's confidence and heart, my brother Curtis's tenacity and self-awareness, and my brother Keith's intelligence and competitiveness. I learned so many things from them to make me who I am. So I love y'all for being my support system and carrying me through every year of my life. Appreciate y'all for that. But what's more important than that is life itself. My mom, her sacrifice that she made, if people really knew what she gave up for us to be where we are, they would be shocked and surprised. So this is her Hall of Fame. She deserves this moment. It's because of her that I am here. So I want to thank you. I love you from the bottom of my heart for being who you are. The next section of people I want to thank is to my side of town. I love the south side of Peoria. Thank you for your that village is what it really helped me be who I am. If people knew what Harrison Home, the Wiz Wall to the Hall of Fame meant, that trajectory and what I had to take to get to this point, they would know that it was a fight, a struggle, and I did it to the best of my ability. And I'm saying it right here before you guys today. to my mentors, to the Southside Mission in Peoria, to my mentors, Dean and Crystal Johnson, Jim and Tanya Sneed, and Willie and Karen Johnson. Thank you guys for always pouring into us spiritually and emotionally as you saw fit. To Peoria Manual High School, the Black and Orange, thank you guys for loving me and introducing me to football since I didn't start until my freshman year. I just knew I liked to hit people. I knew I had to get that energy out somehow. And my mom got tired of us breaking things around the house, so let's put on some pads. And I had my greatest competitor, Keith, here, so people don't understand how much me and Keith fought. Some of you guys that went to college with us might have saw some of it. We're very competitive, but it's all in love, it's complete love. So thank you for that. I want to thank my teammates that played with me at Manual. LeVar played on that team, and everybody else that played on that Manual High School team. Thank you for supporting me. I was a handful to deal with on that squad, but you guys did it, handle it with grace. To my coaches, Dan Fowler, Coach Schiefling, Coach Dave Fowler, Coach O'Day, Coach Heco, Coach Davis, Coach Cassup, and Coach Webster. Thank you guys for your pouring into me, and especially Coach Webster for introducing us to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and pouring into us spiritually. High school was probably one of the greatest times in my life, so I just want to thank everybody for that time in my life that supported me and carried me through that moment. Now on to the reason I'm here at Eureka College. This is my home. Every time I step on this campus, there's something about it that I just feel this is where I'm supposed to be. So I want to thank Eureka College, from the faculty, the staff. I can name so many people that were here at the time, especially Sue from the comments. I don't know if she's still here or not, but Sue, Marilyn, the housekeeping, Ken Baxter, Kirk Crow. I can go forever talking about people at the school that really loved and supported me through my time here. To Delta Sigma Phi fraternity, thank you guys for your support. To my brothers I met here, some of my best friends, Wayne O'Hara and Josh Hughes, thank you guys. Lee Wilkins, Al Thornton, I thank you guys for your support during this time. I also want to talk about my teammates. I played on a number of teams here, but I'm here for my junior year. That's the reason why I'm here at this Hall of Fame ceremony. So I really want to thank those who played me at that time. With Denny Walker going to the Hall of Fame today, one of the best linebackers I ever saw do it. We had Brian Wilkie, C.G. Moore, Luke Hermes, who was my Bash brother, Joe Hermes, Nick Jensen, Luke Arrogant, Josh Zeiser, Jason Spang, Matt Hewitt, and a number of others. And I really want to thank the late, great Ryan Albin. He died not too long ago. The sheriff died not too long ago. Thank him for giving me something to look forward to or look up to when it came to playing the end position. Hope that he rests in peace and he's in God's grace. There's three people particularly that I need to thank because if it weren't for them and how good they were and how dominant they were, there wouldn't be a monster. And that's Nick Dunham, Jeff Nichols, and Keith Brown. Those three boys were so dominant that when this 5'8", 200-pound linebacker moved to defensive end, comes down on the line, they were so focused on those three because they were hard to stop that they forgot about little old me. And they paid for it. Every team paid for it. So thank those guys for that. I appreciate it. And I want to thank my coaches at the time. Greg Head, which is one of the best linebacker coaches I ever played for. I want to thank Mick Brooms. There's a number of coaches. I want to talk about Coach Barth real quick. He was offensive coordinator at the time. We have to understand that Coach Barth can possibly be in the Hall of Fame at minimum 5 times. One as a coach, one as a player, one on the team. He's going to go as a coach. He has a team going today, and he has at least another team that has a possibility of going to the Hall of Fame. I think Dr. Wright is here. I think it's time for us to name something after Kurt Barth, whether it's a street, a sign, something. The Burgoo. Right? I'm pretty sure Leonard Burgoo be called Kurt Barth Cafe would be awesome. I think he'll appreciate that. But I think it's time, I believe in giving people roses while they're still alive. So I think it's time for him to be especially with the number of kids he brings in, the number of lives he's changed, and his commitment to diversity. I think it needs to be recognized. I think Eureka needs to do something special for Coach Barth. Coach Kropke, I can still hear him to this day yelling, keep contained, keep contained. You got to keep contained. And I hear myself when I'm coaching now just yelling at my kids, keep contained, keep contained. So thanks, Coach Kropke, for being a dominant defensive line coach and helping me and, to become greater at that position. And to the big dog, Coach Crouch, this is the man that made it happen. I remember, I think it started with Concordia, Mitch Miller, Hall of Famer Mitch Miller tore his hamstring. And Coach Crouch threw me in there at middle linebacker. And then season ends, that was last game, season ends, and Coach Crouch calls me in his office and like, we think about dropping you down. What you think? You already got the number. You weren't 56, like the greatest player to ever play it. Gonna drop you down, play stand and rush in. And without hesitant, you know me, I'm a gamer. Let's go. Let's make this happen. So though I was a little bit fearful, like I'm going against these 300-pound linemen. I'm 200 pounds. Can I get it done? Of course I can get it done. I'm a monster, right? So thanks, Coach Krause, for really committing to me and really pouring into me and making that decision. One that I know wasn't easy because he could have easily been and recruited a BC defensive end and dropped him there. But put me there, let me show that he trusted me, he believed in me, and that's all I needed to go out there and be dominant. But that's pretty much my speech. I just want to give some thank yous to everybody that helped me along the way. But I want to say something. I don't know if there's any active athletes in here or football players that be playing today, but I want to just tell you guys, if you can quantify how much you're going to give today, you're not giving enough. You're just not giving enough. What you have to do is play until you're empty. Play until empty. All right, every play, every down, every second, you empty yourself out on every play. Never stop. And when that time in between whistles happen, that's when you fill yourself up. You pull whatever you can from your heart. You refill yourself up, and you pour yourself out again and again and again until the game is 0-0 in the fourth quarter. All right? You play until empty. That way you'll know for sure, win or lose, you gave everything. You gave everything. Today, we're going to play till empty, fellas. Thank you.
Congratulations, Kevin, and thank you, Keith. Our next inductee, also from our football program, is Sam Durley. He's from the Eureka College class of 2015, and he is a Hall of Famer class of 2020. I'm going to invite Coach Barth up one more time as we present Sam Durley.
Wow, Kevin, thank you very much for the very kind words. That means so much. Very proud of you. And before I talk about Sam a little bit, I also want to take time to congratulate Denny Walker. Very proud of Danny's accomplishments and grateful for the opportunity I had to work with Daryl Crouch when he was the head coach here. And just taught me so much about not necessarily the X and O's, but the actual coaching part, working with the individuals to get the best out of them and to handle so many other situations that pop up that have nothing to do with the game of football. So, Daryl, I appreciate that. And I also want to congratulate Ron Poliquin, a teammate of mine that's going in, and you'll hear from Ron a little bit later. But congratulations, guys. Very proud of you and very happy for you. So, my last speech today, I promise, is for Sam Durley. Sam and I probably have the most history together out of any coach-player combination that you could ever imagine. Going back to when Sam was an 8th grader at RB, or Benson Junior High School, I guess is how it was put maybe, I had to convince Sam to play football. I had just been hired at Eureka High School as the head coach. I had known Sam as I competed in high school sports, and Sam's dad was a basketball coach, and so I kind of knew the family, and just through different venues, I knew Sam was a great athlete, and I knew that we needed to talk him into playing football. Well, I went to my visit over at Benson Junior High and had to really convince Sam to play football. In fact, I even think I made a phone call to the house. Dad said he was going to play golf. As I talked with him, I mentioned, and Sam is a very good golfer, although I think I beat him when we played this summer. But Um, but you know, I knew there was going to be something special about him in football. I knew that there was something that he could do and bring to the table, and fortunately it worked out. But you know, I had the fortune of coaching him 4 years at the high school level at Eureka, and then I was blessed to have the opportunity to come back here as the head coach. I don't know as it was a definite layup that Sam was going to come here, but we worked hard to get him here and really wanted the opportunity to build our program around him starting here. You know, Sam's career, there are a lot of things that can pop out in terms of stats, and I'm going to talk about those, and then I'm going to kind of go back to Sam as an individual. But Sam is Eureka College leader in just about every passing offensive category that we have. To name a couple of things, he's thrown for the most yards in program history with 8,162. Has the most completions in program history with 572, and the most touchdowns in program history with 61. He was a 3-year all-conference player for us. Perhaps Sam's biggest accomplishment came in the Lincoln Bowl in 2012, the inaugural Lincoln Bowl. Sam threw for 736 yards in that game. Okay, now that is a season for some of the teams that we played at that time that were just running the ball all the time. But to throw the ball and to have 736 yards in one game is simply amazing and unheard of. And to this day, that is still an all-division record. Many people are familiar with Patrick Mahomes as the Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago. And Mahomes last year at Texas Tech, he threw for 734 yards. So that kind of gives you an idea in terms of that was close. But on the biggest stage, Sam still has that record. Sam was sweating it on the bus ride home as I think we were coming back from Minnesota that day, and the updates kept piling in about Mahomes having a great day, but in the end, Sam held his record. But those are all great accomplishments, and certainly some that are going to last for a lifetime in Eureka, and in Sam's, in his mind and in his memories are going to last a lifetime as well. That doesn't speak enough about who he is. "16 years, Sam and I have worked together. Whether it's player-coach, coaching together, he's on our staff now. My son is 15 years old. So it's a huge part of my life. When my son was born, Sam was there. When my daughter was born, Sam was there. Now that they're in high school and in junior high, Sam's still there. He's like a brother to them. In fact, Cammie probably picks on him just as much as she does Brace. But it is truly an honor. It's truly a blessing to be able to work with Sam and to see the growth that he's had in these 16 years that we've been together. I have not been more proud of a player that has had the accolades and the way he handled himself, and going back to that record, 736 yards. He was on ESPN. Eddie George, a Heisman Trophy candidate, was interviewing Sam. And the way he represented our college, the way he represented his family, the way he represented our program was absolutely amazing. And that is something that's gonna stick in all of our minds and in really our college's memories forever. I just handled it with such class, such grace, and then things took off for him. You know, he was able to, from that season, I was able to get some NFL workouts, opportunities, was not able to catch on at that level, but ended up playing in the Arena League out in Wyoming, played in Cedar Rapids, and then at the end of his career, signed with the New Orleans Voodoo. But again, all those things speak nothing to what the impact that he's had in our program now. And I want to talk a little bit about that as Sam has taken over as our offensive coordinator. He's done a fantastic job of taking our young talent and improving our passing game and continuing to push our program forward. And, you know, Sam is going to be an outstanding head coach someday, and I know that he's going to put the time and effort into doing those things. So, Sam, I could stand up here all day and talk about you and how proud I am of you, but I'd rather you come up and join me and take your place in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I thought he was going to make it easy on me, but of course not. Never has in all the 16, 17 years we've been together. So first off, I just want to thank the committee for voting us in for the 20 class and the 21 class. And congratulations to the rest of the individuals and teams that are being inducted this year. It's a privilege to have my name included with all of you in Eureka College's history. It's been a long, successful athletic history here at EC, and I'm proud to be a part of it. To make this as quick as possible, I'm just going to kind of jump into some of the thank yous that I owe, because any success that I had or our teams had came from other individuals that helped us along the way. So the first person I need to thank, the first people I need to thank for any success I've had on the field or just in life in general is my parents and my family. I was extremely fortunate as a kid growing up to be raised by parents who were always there, and they were always extremely involved with their children. With my dad being a basketball coach growing up, like Coach Barth said, sports became my passion from day one. It was kind of a way to let things out, and I had unlimited access to it right away as a young kid when he was coaching. My parents and grandparents were never too busy to play catch, rebound for me, or find a way to get me involved with as many sports as possible. From junior high through college, my family always found a way to make it to every game that my siblings or I had, and they've always been my biggest supporters. So for that and all the other millions of things that I can name, thank you for that, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. Another person that I need to thank, and I saw her here today, Coach Schweitzer. I'm not sure if she's still in here or not. I think she might have just walked out. But there would have been no athletics without academics, and Coach Schweitzer reminded me that every day. I was not always the most motivated in the classroom early on in college, but she kicked my butt into gear every single day and let me know when I wasn't applying myself. She was by far the best teacher I've ever had, and she truly cared about the success of all of her students. There she is, Coach Schweitzer. Finally, yeah, there she is, yeah. Hey, so thank you, Coach. You single-handedly got me through college in the classroom and told me to get my butt in gear and get things going, and I truly appreciate it, and I'll always be thankful for that. Next, I would like to thank my EC teammates and coaches that I had during my time here. I was extremely fortunate to be a part of the first step in the Eureka College Coach Barth era. On defense, I got to throw against guys like Mike Minahan, Jake Carls, Drew Duffy, Frankie Bray, that whole entire 2013 class that was just a monster on defense. But they were also some of my greatest friends throughout college, too. They were the meanest and baddest dudes on the field at all time, and it showed in practices and it showed in games, but it made me better on a daily basis. So offensively, there's way too many names to name, but I just have to thank everyone. There's way too many people between the offensive line, running backs, receivers, offensive coaches, but every single person was a major contributing factor to any success that I had in football. Football is the ultimate team sport. Any individual stat, record, or accolade is because all 11 men on the field are doing their job at that time to make it work. It's not because of the person who gets the stat line or gets put in the newspaper. It's because the whole entire team is doing their job, and that's the beauty of football. So thank you, guys. Two names that need to be dropped, though, are Wes Schmidgall and Alex Hess. Not every quarterback is lucky enough to have two All-American receivers at one time for multiple years, but I was. Those two guys caught anything that was thrown their way for all 3 years that I got to play for them, and they made me look much better than I actually was on a daily basis, so thank you, fellas. After they graduated, I had one more year, and there was kind of some questions as to who would take that leadership and that big receiver role. And we kind of had a collective group effort my senior year. Guys like Cody Followell, Matt Dawson, Jake Bain, Jordan Kindred, they all stepped in as a whole, and it was one collective group effort, and it was a group that a lot of people had questions about. And we went out the first game of the season, and we set an NCAA a record. It was a collective group thing, and that kind of set the tone for how the season was going to be. It was going to be a team, and it was going to be something that we all did together. So thank you to all you guys. I would like to throw in another one of my great friends and receivers for that class as well, but Nate Lewis decided it would be a good idea to go live in China my senior year, so thanks for nothing, Nate. Wish could have been there. Told him I would never let him live that down, so hopefully he still regrets that. But like any offense, we had some very tough games. We had some great games, but I wouldn't trade anything for it, and I cherish every moment I got with my offensive and defensive guys in our Eureka College football family. And the biggest thank you definitely has to go to Coach Barth, okay? And I'm going to try and read this as best I can so I don't get choked up like he was, but and also there's two sides to every story. I can tell you he wasn't that nice in junior high when he came up and asked me if I was going to play football. I have the exact words on here so you guys can hear it. But my entire football career and career path is all because of Coach Barth. I never had any plans to play football. I grew up loving basketball, baseball, and golf, and I was planning to play golf my freshman year until he came to the junior high and talked to us. And he didn't ask me. He said, you have the rest of your life to be old in golf. You were going to play football your freshman year and see what it'll do for you. So probably out of fear, I said, yes, sir. And I do remember the phone call that he made. But I'm almost 31. I'm a football coach, so you guys can do the math on who was right. But that was the first time I found out that KB is always going to be right. So I was lucky enough to have coached for 4 years in high school as well. He took a struggling high school football co-op and turned them around in his third year to make playoffs in a very tough Corn Belt Conference. So it's not the first time he's turned something around. His first head coaching gig, he did the same thing at Eureka High School. After 4 years at Eureka High School, it was easily the best experience of my athletic career. I knew I wanted to play college football after that, but I had no idea where I wanted to go. I'm going to kind of throw my sister under the bus here a little bit. She was a volleyball player here at Eureka College, and I remember coming to a game day visit with a couple of my teammates. This is before Coach Barth had the job, and it was very evident there was not a whole lot of culture with the football team. They were getting beat 70-0. The coaches that invited us to that game day didn't even end up talking to us, and there might have been 75 people in the whole entire stadium. Immediately made a decision and told my parents as soon as I got home, I will never even consider going to Eureka College. I want no part of it. And then sure enough, not long after that comment was made, our high school season ended, and Coach Barth came up to me and said, hey, took the head coaching job at Eureka College. You're coming to EC to play football. We're going to turn it around. So that's another instance where Coach Barth has a way of making me eat my words and make me wrong and make me look like an idiot, because then I had to have that conversation with my parents, and I said, well, I'm going to Eureka College. So pretty typical KB fashion and everything that way, but I remember everybody talking about that move when he took that coaching spot, about how it was a dead end, how it was complete career suicide, and you just cannot win at Eureka College. About a year ago, I was looking through some old newspaper articles, and I found one of the first articles that Coach Barth had as an interview, and one of the quotes from the clipping was saying, yes, we can win, and we will win here. This program was at a championship level when I was playing, and we will get back to a championship level. And when I saw that article about 13 years later and read it, it definitely gave me chills, because everything that was said in that article came true. And that is in very typical KB fashion also. Not a whole lot of people can will that and talk that into existence, especially in the situation that Eureka College football was in before that, but Coach Barth did it. His first game, there was over 2,000 people in attendance. I remember the line to get into the game was backed up across the street. People couldn't get in fast enough, and we ended up winning his first game as head coach. The culture had changed. The roster was being built up from that 29-man roster that he was talking about. And even though the success of winning seasons didn't come right away, we were always knocking on the door. We had 3, 4, and 6 seasons. Each of those seasons had a couple of losses where we lost by less than a touchdown. So we were right there banging on the door, and we were kind of setting the foundation down for that 2013 team to break through that door and kind of carry the tradition through there. So like Coach Barth said, I've been with him for over half of my life now, which is a pretty crazy stat to think about. Away from the coaching aspect, KB probably was more influential to me and my teammates off of the field. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and I had to take a step back and think about what I would do. The most influential people in my life, my parents and Coach Barth, were teachers and coaches. I think the biggest thing that influenced my career path after college was seeing the interactions and the relationships that Coach Barth had with his players off of the field. The guys would just look up to him, come to his office for advice, whether it was in school, life, mental health, personal problems, or just wanted to come in and chat. that's what I knew that I wanted to do with my life. When I saw that kind of interaction that he had, and that just made me realize that it's not a job that I wanted to take where it would make killer money, or a job that would benefit the people above you and who run the companies and businesses and all that, but I wanted to be able to influence every single student that came in through that office, just like Coach Barth has done for the last how many years. A personal example of that, he was like a father figure to me away from home while I was playing, and he became my mentor and one of my greatest friends, and he helped me start my coaching career. So for that, I will be forever thankful, and I owe everything to you, Coach. Eventually, I know that this will all come to an end, and I'll have to kind of create my own path, and I'll have to branch away from being underneath Coach Barth. But until that day comes, I'm definitely going to keep soaking up every bit of knowledge I can from Coach, keep building the relationships with our players year in and year out that we have, and making every day count here at the place where it always has at good old Eureka College. So thank you all very much. Go Red Devils.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Coach Barth. Our next inductee, we're going to transition away from football, and we're going to meet Clay Mcconkey from the class of 2010. He is a 2020 Hall of Famer, and at this point, I will bring up another Hall of Famer, his former head coach here at Eureka College, Craig Gertis.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring Clay up at this time, a 2010 graduate of Eureka College, four-year baseball player, graduated in 2010. As Clay's coming up here, I would like to again congratulate all the inductees today. I came to Eureka College in 1967 as a student, graduated in 1971. So I've been around Eureka, stayed here for the last 50-some years. So all of these inductees, I've been very fortunate enough to see them play. Even got to announce the football team that was inducted today. Got to announce some tackles by Jake Carls. Got to talk about the pride of Minunk, Matt Stevenson, so on and so forth. So it's been great to see all of the individuals, the teams, etc., that were inducted today. And I'm very fortunate to have been a part of that as a spectator. I'm not a big stats man, but I'm going to mention a few stats of Clay in regards to baseball. Stats have been kept very well at Eureka College since about the year 2000. So what I'm going to say is basically these are stats in the last 21 years. And there's 5, in my mind, very important stats in regards to Clay. He has the most wins of any pitcher in the last 21 years. The most strikeouts of any pitcher in the last 21 years. The most innings thrown of any pitcher in the last 21 years. 3 times he was the pitcher of the week during his career. And he's the only Eureka College baseball player to be named to a postseason all-tournament team because he's the only player on a team that earned their way into a postseason tournament. So 5 very good stats. But then we continue on. He continued on to play and still is playing 14 years in what's known as the Sunday Morning League in Peoria. For those of you that don't know what the Peoria Sunday Morning League is, it's a league where present college players and past college players continue to play baseball. Now, here's some real stats for you in the last 14 years that he's played. 5 of those years, he's been the pitcher of the year. He has won 81% of the games he's pitched in. 81%. That means when he's gone out to the mound, 4 out of every 5 times he's won the game. His earned run average, for those of you that are baseball players, during those 14 years is 1.12. That means he gives up approximately 1 run every time he pitches. This past year, in 2021, he did not give up a run the whole season. So some pretty good stats. As I said, I'm not a stats man, but those are pretty good college stats and post-college stats. What I'm more concerned with are some of the things that I'm going to mention at this time. We had about an 18-man squad his senior year. And I told him at the beginning of the season, you know, I'm going to like for you to pitch a lot if it's at all possible. So he took the ball an awful lot of times. To say the least, he had a lot of minimum rest in between pitching appearances. But what's even maybe more remarkable is every day that he didn't pitch, he was the starting shortstop. You know, that's pretty unheard of. To now, if you're a pitcher, you pitch every 4 or 5 days. You've got the other 3 to 4 days off. He didn't have those days off. If it was a doubleheader and he pitched one game, he played shortstop the next game. If one day he played shortstop, the next day he might pitch. So always involved. And that's the reason I would say this guy had the heart of a lion, the eye of a tiger. He was focused. He was determined. When his name was called, he was ready to go. We go to the end of the season. We have 2 games left in the season. Us and Westminster have to make up a doubleheader, and it's going to be played on a neutral site at Greenville. If we win one of the 2 games, we're in the playoffs. If we lose both games, we're not in the playoffs. We lose the first game 12-3. So now it's time for the last game of the season. We win it, we go to the playoffs. We lose it, we go home. We've got Clay saved up to pitch. He might only have about 2 days rest, but we've got him saved up to pitch. We beat Westminster 8-2, and we go to the playoffs. First and only time a team, Eureka College baseball, to the playoffs. Okay, because it's a make-up doubleheader, we don't have as much time to rest than the other 3 teams in the tournament. Webster was rated number 1, Fontbonne rated number 2, Greenville rated number 3. Is Blake here today? Blake, stand up. Clay's brother. There he is. So Blake, our normal third baseman, when Clay pitches, is asked to pitch the first game of the tournament against number 1 rated Webster, who's ripped us 2 to 3 times in the regular season. Blake pitches a whale of a game. A whale of a game such that their manager, as I'm coaching third, is constantly cursing and swearing at his players because they're not ripping us again. We're hanging right in the game with them. We lose a close game 8-5 and really played a good game. The next day, we bring Clay back in the third place game after he's had 2 days rest from having just beat Westminster. We play Greenville, who again we had not beat during the regular season. Clay pitches a great ball game. We lose 4-3. But again, the heart of a lion, the way he could come back after a couple days rest, always ready to go, playing shortstop one day, pitching the next day, or maybe doing both of them the same day. Eye of the tiger, focused, determined. What more could you ask for? Another thing I'd like to mention, I think Andy Hudick is here. Would you stand up, please? Andy was our left fielder. We had Clay and another already Hall of Famer, Alex Hess, as our catcher. I thought our pitcher-catcher combination was as good as there was in the conference. And then we had a lot of other guys like Blake, Andy, and so forth that were good ball players, ready to rise to the occasion day after day. And they loved the game of baseball, and they loved each other. And that's the reason we won 19 ball games that year, which to the best of our knowledge is the most games any Eureka College baseball team ever won. A good enough record that hopefully sooner than later, that baseball team will also be a team that will be elected into the Hall of Fame. I don't need to say anything more about Clay today except for one thing. He's like Sam Durley as a quarterback. You got to remember, as I said, I've been around Eureka for over 50 years. I've seen all the teams and players come and go. Sam, in my mind, the number one quarterback I've seen in the last 56, 55 years. Clay, in the last 50 to 55 years, the best pitcher. And what's even remarkable, or more remarkable, is that he's still doing it today, maybe even better than what he did in college. But I can say it one more time, and it needs to be said, the best pitcher I've seen in over 50 years at Eureka College. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Clay.
Thank you, Coach Gertis, for the kind words, and a huge thank you for stepping up in 2010 and helping out the baseball program. Without you, the season might not have happened. Baseball's always been such a huge blessing in my life, from making lifelong friends to learning invaluable life lessons. Baseball has played and continues to play a large part in my life. Those blessings continue today, as it has been an incredible honor to be in front of all of you. And this honor is not attainable without the sacrifices and commitments of countless others. It is truly impossible to go through them all. However, there are a few I'd like to mention. In any team sport, personal accomplishments are not possible without the right coaches and teammates to help along the way. I'm very proud of the personal accomplishments, but probably the thing I am the most proud of, which Coach G alluded to, was that the year before I arrived on campus, or we did as a group, the team won one game the entire year. By the time our senior year was over, as Coach mentioned, we won 19 games, and we earned a bid into the SLIAC Conference Tournament for the first time in school history. To the group of seniors, Andy, Nick, and Tyler, our final season was full of great memories, and I hope that someday, as Coach G mentioned, that entire team and you guys earn your rightful spot in the Hall of Fame alongside me. A big thank you to all former teammates. You were a part of the progress made by the program while I was here, and I thank you in helping us achieve our goals. To former coaches and mentors, from the beginning stages of T-ball all the way to campus here, you're a large part of shaping into who I am as a ball player, coach, and most importantly, a person. Throughout my career here, we made our way through many coaches, unfortunately. But by the end of it, Coach G, you were the right man for the job that last year and helped us along the way. I learned over the last few years, coaching my son, that coaching can be a thankless job, but there may not be a job more personally rewarding. So thank you to all the coaches who made great personal sacrifices to continually push myself and teammates into being better players and better human beings. I'd just like to mention it was a unique opportunity to play with my brother, as he mentioned, for 2 years here at Eureka. When you have a sibling that is as dedicated to the game as I was, it made putting the work and making that commitment a heck of a lot easier. Even as we grew up, that hold true from the time we started playing ball. And while your career here was probably Hall of Fame worthy as well, you were an instrumental part in not only my success, but our team's success. So thank you. To my wife and kids, Julia, Tyler, and Kinsley. I never envisioned having the opportunity to play the game as long as I have. I couldn't be more blessed to have married someone who might be just as competitive as I am. You understand the competitive fire that still burns to continue to play. As our lives continue to get busier and busier, you are all gracious enough to, at the very least, accept my decision to continue to play. I do promise that my playing days are coming to an end, and when that time comes, I will actually take that vacation I keep putting off. Last and certainly not least, to my family, and especially my parents. From grandparents, aunts, and uncles, down the line to cousins, your investment in family, not just in the sports, but in life, probably played the biggest role in shaping who I am today. To my parents, your unwavering support, allowing both Blake and I to chase our dreams, was and still is unmatched. I believe I can count on one hand the number of games at least one parent did not make the stands. No matter time, place, date, weather, you always made a point to be there. Just know that the honor earned today does not happen without your relentless commitment and selflessness, so thank you. Again, thank you to whoever made this honor possible, and congrats to all the new members of the 2020 and 2021 Eureka College Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Gertis, and thank you, Clay. Our next inductee is from the class of 1996 and a Hall of Fame class of 2020, Stephanie Mullins-Hampton. She'll be presented by Hall of Fame former head coach Karen Schweitzer.
Well, apparently I know how to clear a room. I would also say that if Sam Durley calls me out, I can't wait to turn this mic over to Stephanie Mullins-Hampton. It is my privilege and an honor to introduce Stephanie Mullins-Hampton for induction into the Eureka College Hall of Fame. Stephanie graduated from Farmington High School in 1992, came to Eureka College in the fall of '92. She brought with her a wealth of interests and talents, the perfect fit for a small liberal arts college. She sang, she acted, not just in theater. She majored in communication. She played softball. She was an active member of Delta Delta Pi. And I'm sure she was the life of many parties at Eureka College. It really was refreshing to coach someone who was all in while she was playing softball. And once she left the field, she was all in her other areas of interest as well. In everything, and I mean everything, Stephanie was the person of interest. And she really was one of a handful of student athletes I coached who grasped in real time the critical balance between playing sports and enjoying all the other aspects of college life. Stephanie's senior year team in 1996 was one of the best ever at Eureka College. Every player, and thus the team, had gotten better every year. And by the time they were seniors, they were like a well-oiled machine. Much of that success really was that they all just stayed together. There was no question, at least as far as I knew, that they would stay together. And I know a lot of that staying together could be attributed to Stephanie Mullins. But her value was not only in the intangibles, or she wouldn't be here today. She was an excellent softball player, both offensively and defensively, and our statistics do run back to the mid-'80s and were very well kept from that time on. She was an outstanding offensive player. She had a great eye. She rarely struck out. I don't know how many times, but she probably struck out less than 2 hands full in 4 years. She had an excellent eye and was a very good 2-strike hitter. She was a very good defensive player. She ranks in the leader in assists. She played third base. 25 years later, she is in the top 10 in many categories. In Stephanie's senior year, the team finished 30-7 in 6th place in the Central Region of the NCAA. Since Eureka College was not, at the time, affiliated with the conference, having only recently moved from the NAIA to the NCAA, we had to rely on an at-large bid to the postseason tournament. It was not to be, as only the top 5 teams in the Central Region of the United States were selected to the postseason tournament. Time has certainly healed most of the disappointment of not being selected for the postseason that year, but it has not dulled the luster of the accomplishments of that team and its individual players. Stephanie has been and continues to be a successful businesswoman in the Peoria area, having spent 25 years in wireless, most of them in a management role with Verizon. She has been consistently recognized for her achievements in that role and has undoubtedly moved many young men and women into leadership roles themselves in the Peoria area and beyond. Stephanie Mullins was one of the most enjoyable young women I coached. But to say the least, she and I were different in many ways. We learned from each other, however, and are today great friends. I learned that there is a place on a team for someone who doesn't always color within the lines. And I think that Stephanie has learned time and again that the hardest lessons to learn really are the least complicated. And that running a mile isn't the most difficult part of life. I'm so proud to present to you Stephanie Mullinshampton for induction to the Eureka College Athletic Hall of Fame. Oh boy.
Hi, everybody. I gotta get going here, right? All right. So, what an incredible opportunity to come back to my alma mater and be able to speak to you today. I'd like to thank the athletic department, the alumni department, administration, faculty, and staff here at Eureka for all of the work that went into the ceremony and all of the homecoming events that you have to put on. Congratulations to the other alumni who are being inducted here today. I especially want to thank my husband, Randy, for being here and being my #1 MVP Hall of Fame husband. He is my chosen teammate for the rest of my life, and I picked an ace. So what do you say in a moment like this? I don't really know. I know it shouldn't be wasted, but a thank you just doesn't seem like enough. Getting to play ball was such a gift in my life, and it made me so happy. But it is my teammates, my family, and my coaches who are responsible for that happiness. Those are the people I need to talk about. I need to share what they did for me. I need to share how they contributed to my formation. I need you to know how they raised me up, how they rooted for me, and how they believed in a better version of me. My mom and dad, they supported everything I did. When I say they supported me, I mean my 5-foot-tall Bolivian mother taught herself how to play softball. She and Dad were coaches when the girls in my hometown needed parents to step up so we could have a team. But Dad ended up having to go to Springfield to work during the week, and Mom had to figure it out. What was she going to do, quit? No. That was just one of the many lessons that she would teach me about perseverance. She was going to teach herself how to hit ground balls. They scrimped and saved and got us a pitching machine. We played catch every night. Didn't matter what it was. They gave their kids every opportunity they could think of. My dad mowed the field next to the house like a ball field. He even cut the baseline shorter so it was more authentic. They made sure that I was exposed to first-class teams and coaches, and my family cheered me on like the sun rose and set on me every day during softball season. I mean, my dad dressed up in a farmer's outfit, because we were the Farmington Farmers, for every ball game with a long-sleeve flannel shirt in 100-degree weather, and literally did flips whenever our team had a great play when I was in high school. They are the gold standard when it comes to being a mom and dad. They are in my corner 100% of the time, and there is no one that has given me more in my life. My sister and I were quite a pair. Back then, she was a pitcher and I was a catcher. My mom had my sister practice pitching every single day. She even set up a pitching area in the basement where Tony pitched 100+ pitches per day for an entire year to get her ready to play ball in junior high. I'll never ever forget that day that Tony went to softball tryouts and the coach had no idea that that little girl had been practicing in the basement for months. The look on that coach's face when Tony threw her first pitches, I'll never forget that. That little 6th grader blew everyone away. Tony and I loved softball. We just loved playing. She also went on to play ball all through high school and later played at Eureka College as number 34 for Coach Schweitzer. Her effort and persistence on the fundamentals make her a brilliant coach and teacher. Tony is an asset to any team, and I am so lucky she is on mine. She and I didn't go to school at the same time, but we shared the same teammates, and my heart is full knowing that she was able to play here with such incredible people. When I was 12, my little brother was 6, and he was 100% of the time always there. He didn't have a choice. So if you've got a big brother or big sister and they have a ball game, you're going. Sorry, Johnny. Sorry, James. You're always going to be going to your big brother's games, right? He was constantly being drugged from ball field to ball field all over the Midwest and supported Tony and I in every strike, every catch, every at-bat, every loss, and every win. Josh was a wrestler and a football player in high school and went on to be a United States Marine and was sent to Iraq after the towers went down in 2001. He came back and he played football and graduated from Eureka College, 2005. He married his high school sweetheart, and they have 4 sons. Josh sacrificed. His role in our family's framework was to be the ever-adoring fan, but he was and continues to be the most talented and gifted of us all. As you can imagine, it is not quiet at a Mullins gathering. Perhaps someday there may be another Mullins at Eureka who can carry on our legacy of loudness, spirit, and love of life. I have to say that I've watched many a Hall of Fame ceremonies for my teammates and my coaches over the years, and I am humbled by the company I'm keeping. My teammates have been my friends for almost 30 years. I got to play ball and train with EC legends like Jamie Larson, Jamie Weil, Allison Carter, Mindy Whitehouse, Jill McGinnis, Chris Kistler, Becky Wright, Shelley Lindsay, Michelle Myers, Minda Sylvester, Wendy Schmedeke, Fundy, Tina Sharp, and my dear old pal, Sarah Beth Taylor. And of course, our 1996 softball team. We grew up in the 90s before Facebook, before cell phones, and thank goodness before YouTube. But we grew up at a time when we could keep ourselves entertained on road trips to the next game with a game of pinochle or by singing in harmony to an agreed-upon playlist. This family of people knew who they were and were willing to play any position, run any mile, or go to any 6 a.m. practice to help the team do better. They bought into the coach's plan, and they held each other accountable to do what we committed to do. These ladies continue to be my tribe and humbly support and set examples on how to be good people in this world. These people are first class, folks. Don't underestimate the value of having a really good team. Life is so much better when you have really good teammates. I had the privilege of playing for a number of wonderful coaches in my life. Not many people can say that, but Coach Schweitzer and Coach Shuster were remarkable coaches, remarkable women, and remarkable leaders. You know how a crossroad moment presents itself and in an instant your life changes? I had one of those moments the first time I met Coach Schweitzer. My mom and I attended a visitor's day in the middle of February in 1992 at President Hearn's house. As soon as I knew that the Eureka softball coach was in the room, I immediately turned around, thrust my hand out to her, almost knocked her over, and said, "Hi, I'm Stephanie Mullins from Farmington High School, and I'm going to be your new left fielder." Never really struggled with confidence. My dad always said, if you don't ask for what you want, you're not going to get it. So step into the batter's box, take a swing at that first pitch, and go for it. Now, the funny thing is, she gave me this pained look, this pained smile, and said, "Yeah, that's not going to happen. We already have a left fielder, and she's not going anywhere." So maybe I missed that first pitch. But my freshman year, I would meet one of the most admired women athletes in Eureka's entire history. Number 15 was the senior left fielder, and I had to go to one practice. I knew that she would be my pal and teammate for the rest of my life. Coach Schweitzer and Coach Shuster, they took ownership of their players. I looked up to them so much. Their accountability and dedication to the growth of the integrity of their players was felt by everyone at CEC. If you were on their teams, the whole campus knew that wasn't a casual commitment. Coaches unapologetically, and I'm good with this, unapologetically made you ask yourself, did you do enough? Are you really trying as hard as you can? Are you doing what you said you were going to do? My entire professional career, the questioning of my own efforts helped me set new standards and expectations for myself. I am thankful that they helped me be strong enough to ask those questions. Eureka College has a way of attracting people who honor the integrity of the word team. Coaches led these teams with the same expectation year after year, and it was a privilege to play at EC. Somebody was always watching you. It was up to you to take ownership of your role and your truth. It's awesome that softball still serves as a vessel for young girls to help discover the potential of their own physical strength, mental toughness, offensive prowess, and strategic defense. It is amazing to see teammates, coaches, parents, fans from days gone by and remember how relevant they were to my own formation. I am honored to be inducted into the Eureka College Athletic Hall of Fame, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you.
Thank you to Stephanie and to Coach Schweitzer. Our next inductee is from the class of 2000. He is an inductee to the Hall of Fame class of 2021. His name is Ron Poliquin. He will be presented this afternoon by former head coach Nick Fletcher.
Well, of course, I get to follow a very tough act. We go from two very gifted public speakers to myself. But I want to say, first of all, I want to thank Ron for the incredible honor of being able to present him to the Hall of Fame. It kind of came out of left field. I had no idea that he would ask me to do this, and I am humbled and I'm honored, and I'm very grateful to him for this honor. I feel honored to be doing this. I have to admit, when Ron contacted me to ask me to do this, he went out of his way to remind me of who he was and what position he played and what year he was in school, and I felt kind of insulted. I didn't know if he was worried that I'd gotten so old that I couldn't remember things, or if he thought I'd honestly forgot someone like him. I coached football for 35 years at 8 different colleges, and I can probably tell you with certainty I remember 99.99% of the players. But Ron is certainly someone I would never, ever forget, both as a player and as a person. I got a nice opportunity to go out to dinner with him and his beautiful wife and his son last night, and I felt bad for his wife. We talked for about 2 hours and reminisced, and poor wife is probably saying, "Dear God, get me out of here," but she was gracious enough to sit there and listen with a smile on her face, and his son was drinking his lemonade and was gracious enough to pay attention as well. But Ron asked me an interesting question. 35 years, 8 different schools. What about Eureka, stood out to you? And I was very quick with an answer because I'd given that a lot of thought. And the thing is, and I wish there were more professors here to hear this, but the number one thing I always remember about Eureka College was the faculty was 100% invested in teaching their students. They gave everything they had to being the best teachers they could. They were invested in their students in the classroom. They're invested in their students outside the classroom. And I'm telling you, that is not a common thing. A lot of the schools I coached at, the teachers had to teach. It was part of what they had to do to be employed by the university. They're much more concerned with their research and their publication than they were with being invested in their students. And unfortunately, a lot of students who go here will never know that because they'll never go to a different college, and they'll never know what a great experience they have here and what great educators they have here and how much they're invested in their students' success. It's also a little overwhelming for me to be back on campus. I haven't been here in 21 years. Stephanie Mullins is the only one that I remember. I remember watching her play. I loved watching Coach Schweitzer's softball teams. I love softball, and I always thought Coach Schweitzer and also Coach Shuster are just great way that they handled their team and the way they coached, and I loved watching the softball and the basketball games as well. got a lot of real happy memories here that all came flooding back yesterday. I married my beautiful, wonderful wife of almost 26 years at the courthouse down here. Dean Gammon was my best man. And I don't know if any of you remember Susan Jordan. She was the dean of admissions when I was here. She was my wife's maid of honor. A lot of great memories. I got to catch up with Dr. Small a little bit. Dr. Rodriguez, I know, is still here. Rhea Edge, I know, is still here. I know Lila Gammon, Dean Gammon's widow, is on the board here. I wish I had a chance to catch up with her a little bit. And there's some sad memories as well. Obviously, the loss of Dean Gammon was a tragedy. Also, one of my players, Shane Kent Buffington, came here, and I remember when I met him, he told me he was going to graduate in 3 years, and he was going to marry his high school sweetheart. And I gave him 5% chance of either one of those things happening. And by God, he did it. And then the next time I heard from his then wife, he had been in an accident, was in a coma, and she wanted me to come and, talk to him, maybe bark at him like I used to on the football field, looking that would wake him up out of his coma. Well, it didn't, and unfortunately, he passed away. So that was kind of a sad memory. So now I want to focus on Ron. Ron called me. He was from New Jersey. Called me on the phone. He was interested in Eureka College because of its affiliation with Ronald Reagan. And, we chatted a bit, and I asked him what position he played, and he was an offensive lineman. He told me he was 5'9", and I'm like, 5'9", whatever. So he sent me a film, and as soon as I saw him on film, my attitude changed completely because he was blocking people, and he played in New Jersey. He played good high school football in a good part of New Jersey, a heavily recruited area for big schools like Penn State, et cetera, et cetera. And he was blocking people 20 yards down the line of scrimmage, and I exaggerate not. He was an incredible offensive lineman in high school. He flew into O'Hare Airport in Chicago and picked him up, and we're driving down, and my impressions of him initially, very bright young man, but also not self-absorbed. Very confident, but not cocky. 5'9", can't get around that, but he had legs like tree trunks. And I'm not talking about pine trees or oak trees. I'm talking about giant sequoias. His legs were just almost too big to be believed. Fortunately, he came and played at Eureka. And, if I had to describe, think of one thing to describe Ron as a player, it would be 110% every minute, every day. Every minute, every day, he played like there was no tomorrow. And he made no friends on the defensive side of the ball. We would do different drills. Obviously, there was live drills where you play football as if you're playing in a game. But there was also what are called thud drills where you kind of fit up on the line of scrimmage, take it a little bit easy. We had fit-up drills so linemen could work on their technique and their alignment and assignment. We had RVA drills, run versus air drills, to make sure everyone's footwork was correct. Ron didn't understand that thud or fit-up meant go 50%, 60%. He only had one gear, 110%. So more times than not, we'd run a play, he'd be blocking somebody 10 yards down the field, and like a bobblehead doll, he'd come back to the huddle, and some guy on defense come up and hit him in the back of the head or shove him because they were ticked off because he wasn't playing by the rules. He wasn't going 50 or 60%. He only knew one way to play the game, 100% all the time. I would also tell you that I was here for 3 years that he was a starter. He got several players on other teams to get unsportsmanlike conduct penalties and thrown out of games for the exact same reason. You always tell offensive linemen, block till the whistle. Well, we'd have a running back 15 yards downfield, and there's Ron still blocking the same guy. 4 or 5 seconds after the running back is already gone, sooner or later the guy would get embarrassed and get ticked off and take a swing at Ron. And so Ron was really, like I said, when all the other players I coached, I always use Ron as an example of how you approach football, how you play the game of football. 100% all the time, all day, every day. Ron also was very active in other things on campus. He was chair of the Young Republicans Club on campus, got some very interesting speakers on campus that I got an opportunity to see. He was a writer and editor for the Pegasus, the school newspaper, and he was also a member of the Delta Sigma Phi fraternity. Ron, most importantly in my mind, is a Eureka College success story. Left Eureka College, went to University of Delaware Law School. He now has his own law firm. He specializes in civil rights cases, employment issues, and also with Title IX issues. He's also done some work as a defense lawyer, but I think he's trying to get more to the civil rights and employment cases. His beautiful wife is also a very accomplished lawyer in her own right, and they met each other when he was in law school and she was in law school, and she actually works alongside him in his firm, and I'm told without any uncertain terms that she actually runs the show there. Ron has done quite well. A number of his cases have been highly publicized in some big journals and newspapers. And I think probably one of the most interesting things about Ron, which, you know, there used to be a game show, Guess My Line or whatever, where you had to try to figure out what someone did for a living. And, you know, hearing that Ron was an exceptional student at Eureka College, knowing that he's a highly decorated lawyer who has his own law firm, if you try to figure out what the last thing in the world that would be his hobby, it would be this. He is the longest reigning champion in the Dynamite Professional Wrestling organization. So he's a pro wrestler on the side. He goes by the Honorable RGP. Apparently he just lost his belt, but his wife assured me he'll be getting it back fairly shortly. So again, it is with great humility and great honor that I present Ron Poliquin.
Thanks, Coach. It is true, I have great legs. They're amazing. Funny thing about Coach Fletcher is, to describe what a good guy he was, I think about sophomore year, I had bounced a check in town here to a local merchant. And I left for the summer. I forgot about it or didn't know about it. And apparently this guy's going nuts. He's like flipping out. He wants to call the FBI. He wants to bring felony charges against me. And somehow he gets a hold of Coach Fletcher, who eventually pays the guy. Now, if Coach Fletcher didn't pay him, I probably would have ended up with felony charges and never became a lawyer. So thank you, Coach, for paying that guy. I don't know if I ever paid you back. It also proves that not all Asians are good at math. So now, I got really overcome with emotion 2 times during this process. The first time when Brian Moore gave me a call, and he told me I was going to the Hall of Fame 21 years after my last game. And then the second time was calling Coach Fletcher almost immediately afterwards, tracking him down, knowing he lived far away, and him asking him for the opportunity to introduce me, and him saying, without a doubt, I'm there. I'm flying in. I'll be there. So, you know, Coach Fletcher gave me a fair opportunity to play at the next level. Because of my size, there was many coaches who would not do that. And when I got the call in from Brian, it immediately brought me back. It brought me back to the summer of 1996 through 2001. I had the privilege of being here. Not every college is like Eureka College. This is a special place. Back then and now, you have people deeply invested in giving you students a unique experience. You know, I feel bad for people out there, and you met these people, that have no special connection or loyalty to their school. My loyalty will always be with Eureka College because of the special people that cared about me when I was a student here. And I'm not just talking about coaches. We're talking about the school administration, President Hearn, the food workers at the Commons, professors, and trust me, during those growing years, I could be a pain in the you-know-what at times to deal with. They all helped me when I needed help, and I will always treasure my time here. Getting inducted now validates all the hard work, the adversity, the isolation when nobody was watching all those years ago. It's also confirmation that I was once a damn good football player. You know how hard it is to convince people that you were a badass college football player when you're a 5'8" Asian guy that's a lawyer? When I tell anyone I played college football, they kind of look at me and they think, oh, maybe you kept statistics. Maybe at best you were the kicker, right? And then you try to convince them that you were the offensive lineman, offensive guard. Forget about it. They just side you up. Now I immediately have a response to that. Hall of Famer. That's it. I think I'm going to put it on the signature block of my email. Eureka College Hall of Famer, class of 2001. Just shut up, everybody, all right? And you ever try to convince your kids you ever accomplished anything before they were born, let alone being a college athlete? They just look at you and they want more money for Roblox or computer games or something. And you know what? I talked to my 14-year-old son. I said, hey, Ronan, he's here today. And I said, I'm getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's kind of a big deal. He just like, yeah, Dad, but you never went to the Super Bowl. And I was like, okay, well, that is true. I never went to the Super Bowl. Now, my road to the Hall of Fame here in Eureka was much longer than the 15-hour drive from my home off the New Jersey Turnpike to 74 here. Like Coach said, I was never actually recruited. Instead, I cold called Coach Fletcher and talked to him, and Coach Fletcher was like, well, we have a great program here. I don't know if you're going to fit in. Send him the tape. I convinced him to look at the tape. I said, look at the tape. He looked at the tape, calls me back. Coming into my freshman year, I had a chip on my shoulder about the size of Ronald Reagan's head in the Peace Garden. I had worked my butt off season, ready to go. I came to Eureka College to chew bubblegum and kick butt, and I was all out of bubblegum. So I did not come to make friends. I came to play football. I was insanely uptight, intense, ready to fight. And, I made those hot, nasty, miserable August practices all the more miserable for everybody else because of my mere presence. I had fights every practice. I was completely alienated from the other players on the team. And this is like I'm 17 hours home. I was completely isolated. And they could not stand me, even especially the upperclassmen, and especially the defensive players. I would play to the whistle and the echo. Yes, I was that guy. I take ownership of it. So a couple weeks go in through practice, and I was pulled aside by my only friend. The only guy who would talk to me on the team, Matt Sowers. And he warned me that the defensive line, led by Hall of Famer defensive lineman Andy Hinnigas, were literally going to murder me if I kept it up. There was some kind of bounty on my head. My only friend turns to me, takes me aside, brings me in the room, and says, literally use these exact words, "Nobody likes you." I just remember blowing up on poor Matt. He was just trying to help. My own offensive line brothers didn't like me, weren't defending me because they couldn't stand me. But I actually took it as a compliment. I said, I'll be that guy. I'll be the most hated person. And I remember going into the first game after all those double, triple sessions my freshman year, all the heat, all the isolation. And throughout preseason, it was unknown who would be starting on the offensive line. And Coach Fletcher had teased there might be some freshmen starting, but he never said it, so you never thought it would really happen, right? So there's literally minutes before the first game. We're playing Monmouth University, and Coach Fletcher's going through some pregame notes, Nobody knows who's starting, right? And I wasn't going to ask him. I was a freshman. I didn't have the cojones to say that, ask him. And Greg Geik, our preseason All-American tackle, kind of sheepishly asked the coach, very bluntly, Coach, who's starting on the offensive line? Coach Fletcher, unfazed by Geik's seemingly fairly important question, kind of just read off like he was rating a grocery list, He just read off the names and very casually lists the starting offensive lineman. The last name he said was Poliquin. At that point, I think I went and puked in the bathroom. But I was overcome with emotion. Coach Fletcher had made good on his promise that I would be given a fair opportunity despite me being the pariah of the freshman class. And it validated all the hard work. Because you realize at some point, if you're good, you work hard, and have talent, they can't deny you on any level. At some point, they just cannot deny you. Let me recognize some of my offensive line brethren that I played with. Jeremy Brown, C.J. Kramer, Greg Geik, Chad Richardson, Robert Downs, Conrad Schaefer, Jeremy Weberg, there's something special about offensive linemen. You know, everybody kind of categorizes offensive linemen as these unselfish players who sacrifice their body for the betterment of the team, right? And I'm not saying those attributes aren't true, but I did have one selfish reason to be an offensive lineman. It's the only position in football where you hit somebody in the face every play. Where you know if you're a defensive lineman, you might get 2 or 3 tackles, but offensive line, you know you're gonna hit that guy, and you got an opportunity to hit that guy. I'll take that position. I'd like to thank all my coaches from Pop Warner on up. I remember my first day at Pop Warner showing up, 10 years old, my head coach, Paul Moore, kind of looking at me and laughing, and I'm wondering why he's laughing. And he takes me aside because I put my whole uniform on the wrong way, apparently. I don't know maybe I was wearing my jock strap outside the pants or something like that, but pretty traumatizing first time experience. Coaches in high school, Bucky Mitchell, Greg Harvey, Ray Recca, and Eureka coaches were phenomenal. Nick Fletcher, Andy O'Farrell, Tim Place, Coach Crouch was on defense, all the awesome trainers here, all the players that I played with all 4 years who I bled, sweat, and battled with. You know, there's a lot of debate about paying collegiate athletes. You hear about that a lot. What's left out of the debate is the Division III athletes that don't get a dime. They play for the love of competition. They play for the opportunity to excel. I'm proud to be a D3 athlete, and I'm proud to be a Hall of Famer. And it's great to be, thank you. It's great to be here with my wife and my kid, for them to see that I was done something before them. And Mom and Dad, thanks for paying the bills, you know. And regarding what happened between me and the defensive line, I would like to say they all apologized for the conduct and took me out for beers and burgers afterwards, but that never happened. And for the record, I never really liked them either. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is from the Hall of Fame class of 2021. She's a 2016 graduate of the college from our softball program. The inductee is Savannah Tapper Stevenson. I'd like to invite former head coach Debbie Neff to the stage to present Savannah Tapper Stevenson.
I guarantee I'll be the shortest speaker of the day. Literally. This isn't my forte, and Brian Moore knows this, that I am not real crazy about getting up and talking in front of people. I always think that what I have to say is not that important, but I think the importance today is on the inductee only. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Savannah Tapper, and then let her come up here and you can hear her voice, the one that we all need to listen to, because she's a very, very hard worker, and I think you'll learn a lot from what she's saying. I'd like to also thank today the appreciation given to Molly Hardesty. Molly was my student teacher at East Peoria High School. And I always said that Molly was the best student teacher that I had ever had. And believe me, I'd had a lot of teachers from Bradley, ISU, Western, and some more colleges. But Molly was the hardest worker and the best student teacher that I ever had. I learned a lot from her, and I can only hope that she learned a little bit from me. And I miss her to this day. Savannah and Matt will probably fight tonight to decide who's the best Hall of Famer. Matty Ice, her husband, was inducted today too. So I'm sure there'll be some good discussions at the dinner table on who is the best Hall of Famer. So I'm going to put my vote in for Savannah right now, just so she gets one vote. Savannah was our leadoff hitter from 2013 to 2016. She was a 4-time All-SLIAC recipient. She was a first-team selection her sophomore year. She was named to the SLIAC All-Decade team from 2010 to 2019. She had the program record with runs scored with 151. She ranks 4th in hits with 160, 4th in doubles with 33, 6th in home runs. She led the team in runs all 4 seasons. That's how things happen with me. I'm not good with computers either, and Brian will attest to that. She set the single season record with 55 runs scored, which is still standing. Savannah helped the Red Devils to make tournament appearances in 2013 and 2016. She played second base, and I can honestly say she was the best second baseman that I have ever coached. I coached her at East Peoria for 4 years. A little side note, I also was her driver ed teacher. So the fun we had in getting her hours in was always after practice. She always said that she was probably the best drive-through person that I'd ever coached and taught, because we headed straight to McDonald's after every practice. And I always said, you need to learn to drive through with the music on, of course. It was always fun watching Savannah play. Her sister, Tommy, a lot of times played shortstop, and Savannah would play second base. And I can remember one particular play where it was up the middle, and they both went running for it and crashed right into each other. Tommy's personality was just to kind of giggle and get up. Savannah's personality was get up and say, "Get out of my way." That was the two differences in the sisters, as far as one being very calm and the other one being very intense. Savannah was a very intense player, and her intensity made her the successful person and player she is today. Savannah also was well remembered. We played in Myrtle Beach every spring to get out of the snow around here. And to this, probably the last time I went to Myrtle Beach was 3 years ago because of COVID. The umpires were still asking me, "Hey, what's that second baseman doing?" Every year I went there, they would ask me, "What is that second baseman doing?" And these umpires, of course, were from all over the state, so it wasn't the Illinois umpires. And it was always interesting to listen to them talk about Savannah. I think they knew more about her than I did, so obviously they were paying pretty much attention to her. Savannah was one of those captains that knew how to be a captain. She knew how to lead. She was an intense leader, much different than some captains who would simply, get along with everybody all the time. Savannah called people out when they needed to be called out, and that, I think, is a true leader, because sometimes it's hard to do that, especially your peers. But Savannah made teammates better than what they thought they could be, and I think that's, a very large credit to her. One game, Savannah hit 3 home runs. And I think that occurred only because she was probably, I don't know this for a stat, but Brian probably could tell you, since he was here most of her career, she was hit a lot in the batter's box. And I mean a lot. I think we could have definitely described her as bruiser, because if she didn't have a bruise on her, we wouldn't probably recognize her. But she was hit a lot, and most of the times, as long as she only got hit once in a game, everything went well. She'd drop the bat and run to first. If she got hit twice in a game, it wasn't pretty. Slam the bat down, give the pitcher a stare, and I thought I was going to probably have to go out there because she was going to, charge the mound. But she kept her composure and always just continued to run first base. But she is a very, very intense young lady, but that intensity showed on the field every day and practice. You know, you always have kids that come game time, step up and play, but Savannah made her practices her game, and that's where I think she learned to play so well, is because she pushed herself constantly. And I think her older sister helped push her a little bit too. And I always could appreciate having two sisters on the team at the same time, because they were the same mold. They're both leaders and they're both captains. And I think Savannah probably could have played Division II, possibly even I, if she really wanted to. But I think she wanted to follow her sister to Eureka College, and I'm sure glad she did, because I so enjoyed coaching her. She's a tremendous person, and if you want to go somewhere and you need someone to back you up, I would definitely call on Savannah Tapper. At this time, I'd like to introduce the best second baseman inductee that I know, Savannah Tapper Stevenson.
I just want to start by saying thank you first to everybody who has stayed in attendance today at this time. I do appreciate it. And thank you to Brian and the rest of the Eureka College Athletic Department for putting all of this together. I want to start by saying congratulations to all of the inductees from 2020 and 2021. I am extremely overwhelmed and very honored to be part of the Eureka College 2021 Hall of Fame class. I feel even more honored to be able to share this moment with my sister Tommy, who is being inducted for softball, and my husband Matt, who is part of the 2013 football team. Eureka College will always hold a special place in my heart. This is the place I met my husband, made some amazing friends, got an amazing education, and got to finish playing the sport I loved. Looking back at those years, I could not have asked for a better college experience. My freshman season at Eureka College is one that I will never forget. This year, our team consisted of 11 girls, and for those who aren't aware, you actually need 9 to play, and one of those 11 were actually our athletic trainer. We came together and we accomplished some great things that year. This season began with our team making extreme renovations to the field. We spent every day, including Sundays when needed, to make sure our field was ready for the upcoming season. Some of these renovations including moving the fence in. So the fence before, for those who didn't know, and I'm not sure the former softball players how you guys played on it, but it was about 300 feet. It was very far. And we actually moved the infield in from the outfield as well, and we realigned the pitcher's mound and home plate. Every time I look at that field, I feel proud to know that I left my mark and gave the future Red Devils a place they can call home. During my time at Eureka, I got to play with some of the greats. Kelly Dunn, Jody Rebholz, Kenzie Wall, Kristen Wallace, Kaylee George, Kerrigan Dura, Deidre Weitzel, Bridget Bankus, and so many more. Softball is a team sport, and without my team, I would not have had the success I did. In order to have the most runs scored, you have to have somebody to hit you in. When you hit a home run, you have your team cheering and waiting for you at home plate. I owe everything to my team, and I wish they could all be up here with me right now. The greatest teammate I had was my sister Tommy. I never got the opportunity to play with her due to our age gap, so this season was very special. We finally got to have our true competition of who could hit the ball the furthest and who had the better fielding average. I specifically remember playing Greenville, and I was leadoff, and I hit a home run over left field fence. Tommy came up right behind me, which typically she did not bat second, so this was an odd game, and she hit a home run in the exact same spot. I mean, probably the exact same distance, same exact spot out in left field. And I remember getting back to first base a couple innings later, and the first baseman said, "Are you guys sisters?" And which I replied, "Yes. Who do you think hit the ball the furthest?" And because Tommy's not right next to me right now, I can say that I think that I hit the ball the furthest that day. It was truly an honor to play with my sister, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience. When I first started playing softball, I was not quite like the other girls. I was the girl who wore a white fur headband, shirt fully tucked in, and did not want to get dirty. I watched my teammates and my sister play and thought, wow, that looks fun. Maybe I should actually try. And I'm not quite sure how happy my parents were about that, considering the amount of dirt, dust, and laundry that came into their house. I will say, to this day, my mom is still the queen of getting dirt stains out of white uniforms. Being a softball mom or dad is not the easiest job on the planet. My parents sacrificed 12 plus years of their lives, and I'm talking year-round weekday practices and doubleheaders, and year-round weekend tournaments. Our vacations were softball tournaments. I am forever grateful that when my parents found out the love I had for the game, they worked with me day in and day out. They helped me with drills, gave me pep talks, and taught me how to be a coachable and adaptable player. As a child, I remember my mom getting off of work, coming home, just enough time to pick my sister and I up to take us to the field by our house so we could practice. She would always put us girls first no matter what. My dad was on the road a lot, but that did not stop him from being there for us. I always got a phone call after every game, even states away, asking, well, how'd you do, buddy? And I always looked forward to those calls, win or lose. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Not only did I have supportive parents, but I had 3 supportive sisters. Thank you to Dottie, Amber, and Tommy for everything you did for me during my career. Thank you for listening to me talk about softball 24/7 and sacrificing your weekends to come watch me play. You guys had to put up with the game of softball your whole lives, and I am thankful for you. And you'll actually have to keep doing it because I have a niece that's 15, and her love for the game is just as it was for my sister and I. So we're pretty much stuck for softball the rest of our lives. To my husband, Matt, thank you for learning the game I loved so much. I know this is not your favorite sport, and to put it nicely, you didn't really know too much about it, but you supported me through my college career, and I'm so thankful. Thank you for making it to as many games as you could and being my biggest cheerleader. I am so glad we were able to share the love of sports with each other at the school we loved. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank Coach Neff. I feel truly blessed because I got to play for the same coach for 8 years. I got to play for Coach Neff 4 years in high school and 4 years in college. And as she said earlier, she actually was the one who taught me how to drive and taught me how to go through a drive-thru. So she taught me how to eat and drive. And also while I'm at it, she actually coached my sister Dottie, and she had connections with my sister Amber and Coach Tommy, so she's pretty important to our family. Coach Neff has always been an extremely influential part of my life. When I was in junior high and I found out who Coach Neff was, I knew I had to play for her. There was no question about it. I remember the winter of my freshman year, my friend Kelsey and I would practice with my mom in the parking lot of the sports complex in East Peoria because the fields were covered in snow. That's how much I wanted to play for Coach Neff. My dream was not only to make, but to play varsity for her. I was able to accomplish that goal, and I got the opportunity to play for Coach Neff not only on varsity as a freshman, but into college here at Eureka. Coach Neff has taught me to not only be a great player, but an even greater person. Thank you for everything you have done for me, my family, and the Eureka College softball program. Once again, thank you to Eureka College for the best 4 years of my life. I am proud to be a Red Devil, and I am proud to be part of the 2021 Eureka College Hall of Fame class. Thank you.
Congratulations, Savannah, and thank you, Coach Neff. Our next inductee, as both Coach Neff and Savannah referenced, is very familiar to the family. It's from our 2013 graduating class, Tommy Tapper Knobloch. She is an inductee for the class of 2021, and she will be presented by Coach Neff.
Tommy Tapper. Many times the SID would come to me and say, I think you've made a mistake on your roster. And I would always say, did I do a number wrong or something? Because I sure could have done that. No, we've got a name here that I think you need to, tell me if it's right or not. And I said, okay. So I'm thinking, I didn't know what he could be talking about, he or she, mostly he. So I said, which one is it? And they go, this one. I said, Tommy? Yeah. Does she have a middle name? Tommy Ann? Tommy Lynn? I said, no, it's just Tommy. And that happened probably at least a dozen times. I don't know, of being asked that question. So what'd she go and do? She has a girl now, and she's named her James. So I can imagine what's going to happen to poor little James in that coach when an SID comes over, of course, if she plays and will play softball, and asks, is this the right name? But I guess nowadays it's a lot different. We have a lot of different names, so she probably will fit in perfectly because she's a perfect child, as we all know. Tommy was a captain for 2 years. She was a 3-time All-St. Louis Intercollegiate Athletic Conference honoree and was named to the first team as a sophomore in 2010. She was 4th in program history in home runs, 10th in career earned runs at 3.16. In 2013, she had 111 strikeouts, ranking 3rd in single-season strikeouts. Her 13 victories that season ranks 6th. She's a 4-time SLIAC Pitcher of the Week, and the big deal with Tommy is the only reason I came to Eureka College was because of Tommy Tapper. Coach Shuster had resigned a few years back, so in the interim there had been some different coaches and things kind of happened, and it was hard to get back to that winning tradition that Coach Shuster had set. I mean Schweitzer, I don't know why I said Shuster. Coach Schweitzer had set, sorry dear. So Tommy came to talk to me and said, our team just, isn't going to produce, isn't going to win. And so I said, well, I just retired from East Peoria High School where I'd coached Tommy all for years, and I knew what kind of player she was, and I knew what kind of things she expected. So I came to a game and sat and watched. And I was a little bit shocked, to be honest. I thought, I can surely understand what is going on here. Somehow the team had become more of a fun team than a competitive team. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but those kids were all having fun out there, which I know in sports we need to do. But Tommy was an intense player also and wanted to win. So Tommy asked me, if there was ever an opportunity to coach at Eureka College, if I would throw my hat in the ring. And I told her, well, yeah, I would if there was an opportunity, not really knowing that there would be an opportunity within the next year. So the coach resigned, and I threw my hat in the ring, and lo and behold, I had no college experience. Of course, I just had experience from East Peoria High School, and ended up getting the job. And so Tommy, is that rain, Ryan? Ugh. So Tommy, needed some strength, and I needed to provide her that strength. So her and I basically turned around the program, and I do mean her and I because when I came here and tried to set rules, because I'm kind of a rule person and kind of a disciplinarian, and I always think that's the way you build good teams is to put discipline in the team. It took some toll on not only me but Tommy, because Tommy knew what it took to win, and it took quite a long time to kind of turn the program around because we had people that didn't quite understand what it took to win. So her and I worked hard, and we changed the ideas and expectations and got the program going back in the correct direction again. And I really have to thank her for bringing me here and giving me this opportunity, and also helping me turn that program back around to what Coach Schweitzer had made it in the past. So Tommy deserves a lot of credit for what has happened to Eureka College since I became a coach. Tommy has had kind of had kind of a rough 4 years. She was injured, and also she had some health issues, some kind of serious health issues. And she knew I was kind of a light sleeper. I thought about softball all the time, and I always told the kids that usually my best practices were made about 2 a.m. in the morning, because that's when I woke up and was doing my best thinking. So sometimes I would just text Tommy to see how she was doing, because I know she didn't feel well, and she was kind of nervous about her illness. So I would text her, and within 2 minutes, she would text me back that we were both up at the same time, and that happened a lot during her career. So we're kind of kindred spirits in that respect, that she kind of knows what it's like for me not to be able to sleep, and I definitely knew what it was like for her to go through part of that illness. She's a very tough-minded person, but yet she is the most kindred type of spirit you'll ever meet. She's very kind, and she's very easygoing and easy to get along with. Just a little bit different than Savannah in intensity. Savannah was always a more intense person, but still a very loving person, and always wanted the best for everybody. And they worked well together on the field. It was just a pleasure to coach both of them. That's why it was so hard today to talk about sisters, when you're always afraid you're going to talk about one and not enough about the other one, because I feel the same about both, and they know that, and I guess that's all that matters. Tommy, I remember especially one game where we were going to Knox, and Tommy, I know earlier somebody talked about one guy would pitch one game and play shortstop the second. Tommy did that every doubleheader. She would pitch one game and play shortstop the second. In this particular game, we were at Knox, and Tommy didn't feel very well for some reason. And so she went out, and she got through the first game, and I said, when I came in the dugout, because I couldn't find her, and I thought, where did she go for the second game? And they go, Coach, she's out and back vomiting. I'm like, what? So Tommy's out and back vomiting in back of the dugout. So I go back there, and I said, Tommy, what's wrong? She goes, well, I don't feel good. I'm like, oh, my response was probably no S. But I said, well, what are we going to do for this second game? Because we didn't have very many on the team when, as you well know, when we first started. She goes, I can do it. I can do it. I said, are you sure? Yeah. So she goes out, and literally between innings, she would be back in the dugout getting sick, and played her heart out, of course, like she always did. And I'll always remember that, because not many players can do that. Once they're sick, unless you're Michael Jordan, you usually have to sit out or or do something to try to get out of playing. So we go after the game of the doubleheader at Knox. We decided, we're going to get something to eat. So we went and got something to eat. Our bus, I was driving our little bus on the way home, and guess who was getting sick again? So I pulled the bus over on the interstate. I see the police following us in the back with their lights on. I'm like, oh no. So Tommy gets off the bus. She's on the side of the road getting sick, and I go back, because I used to be a police officer at one time. And I said, hi, sir. We've got a sick kid on the bus, and I'm trying just to get her home. He goes, well, I'll make sure you get home quick, because I was just going to take Tommy right to East Peoria. So the police follow us all the way home to Tommy's house to make sure she's delivered properly to her parents. So I always appreciated that, but that's just the type of player Tommy was. She was always there. She could always depend on her. After practices, both her and Savannah would always stay and want extra reps. They'd always be pitching and catching, and they just, they made themselves what they were. And you've got to appreciate that about any type of player. I think Tommy today probably realizes some of the things that she's accomplished, but she realizes the person that she really is. Now that she has James, and she's married, she just takes life one day at a time. And I know that's very easy to say, but it's harder to do. And Tommy's just one of those type of people that always just is able to handle herself in any situation and still be calm. Now, I know if James is teething, that might be a different story when James is teething, but Tommy is a type of person that is very understandable, and I think Tommy has to be really rewarded for helping turn this program back around to when Coach Schweitzer was under the helm. So at this time, I'd really like to introduce probably one of my best friends, a person who means a lot to me, and a person who deserves this more than anyone, Tommy Tapper Knobloch.
Well, unlike Savannah, I'm kind of glad all these people left, but thank you all for staying. So first of all, I would like to thank Brian, the Eureka Athletic Department, and Eureka College for having myself and the rest of inductees here today. When I received the call from Brian, my mind raced back to all the memories I had the 5 years here at Eureka as a student athlete. From the time I stepped foot on Eureka's campus to the time I left, I was able to make lifelong friendships, make my dream happen, of playing college softball, found my passion for the healthcare field, and since I commuted all 5 years, I learned real fast the non-emergent police department number to unlock my car. I know a lot of people do not understand how a sport can give someone so much, but softball has truly given me more than I could ever ask for. To learn the meaning of dedication, hard work, and the desire to want to succeed at such a young age has helped me become the person I am today and want to keep being. Being a Red Devil on this campus and putting on that uniform each year was something I look forward to each and every day. From my freshman year to my super senior year, I can say I witnessed changes that I was glad to be a part of and be able to enhance for future Red Devils to come. I want to point out one of the biggest impactful changes was when the softball team moved our fence in one weekend in 2013. And let me tell you, there's softball sore and then there's moving a fence sore. To this day, I look back and think we actually did that. But I know getting to this point of playing softball for Eureka College, I can't help but think to all those that have helped me get here. To Coach Neff, not many athletes can say they had their high school coach as their college coach as well, but I am very thankful I am one of those that can say they have. A lot of life lessons were taught through your style of coaching, and 5 years later, getting to meet back up with you for my final season of playing softball, those values were still instilled stronger than ever. I can never thank you enough for all you have done for our family and the friendship we have that will continue forever. To my teammates, thank you for the 5 years I was able to be a part of this team and all the time I was able to spend with you. We laughed, we cried, we were there for each other through the really good times and the bad times, but most importantly, looking back, we gained those friendships that I will always carry with me. Without you, I would not be able to be staying up here today accepting this honor. To those 6 a.m. practices, spring breaks, bus rides, going out on that dirt after a long day of school, and practicing until dark, and then trying to make it over to the Commons for dinner, and who could forget those SLIAC tournaments. But I look back at these memories and think how blessed I was to be a part of it all. 2 teammates in particular I want to thank, and they are both here today. Carissa, we were literally inseparable. Those first 4 years as Red Devils, and I'm not sure how I would ever be given the opportunity to be standing here giving this speech if it wasn't for us pushing each other to the next level. I will forever be grateful to the friendship softball handed us 18 years ago and how much of a joy it was living out our dream playing college softball. Savannah, the teammate I never thought I would get to have. When I found out I had the chance to play one more year, and that one extra year happened to be the year Savannah decided to come to Eureka and play, I knew I would fight my way back to make sure we had one of the best years yet. The year I would never forget. It's a lot harder than I thought. Okay. I can legitimately say, looking back on all the years I have played softball, year 5 at Eureka College, playing with my sister was one of the best experiences I could ever have. My parents, if there was an award for the best supporting roles to an athlete, this would be you. I remember years ago being that little girl walking through the grocery store, doing the pitching motion full-fledged, and acting like I was swinging the bat, and shortly after getting that look. And you know the look from parents, like, you better stop. Mom, looking back, I'm not sure how I could ever thank you enough for supporting me in softball and providing so much encouragement and sacrificing so much. If you couldn't make it to a game, there was always a text about an hour before we even finished the games, asking how I did, or were there any good plays we were a part of. I could honestly probably say no other player could look out into the stands and see their mother so into the game she almost falls off the bleachers with excitement, and I deep down loved it. Her love to watch us play the sport we love and cherish is something that's indescribable. Thank you for being my catcher, my supporter, my number one fan, popcorn tester, and more importantly, my amazing mother. Dad, it was always a special time when you were at our games. Most of the time, looking out into the stands, seeing some sort of Hawaiian shirt, popcorn in hand, and with either one of your fancy cars or motorcycle in the parking lot. I can say one memory throughout the years of playing softball I think of often is the time you called to see how the games went, but at the time I had one of those Nextel phones that had the walkie-talkie in it. They were indestructible. And our coaches were in the huddle and talking, and we all hear, "Get me out of here, get me out of here." I look around like, oh crap, it's my bag talking, and it was him. But it's kind of one of those moments you had to be there to know how hilarious it was. I know I never said it quite enough, but all the sacrifices you made for us being an over-the-road truck driver did not go unnoticed. I truly could not thank you enough, Dad, for believing in me, being my hype man, supporting me so much in life, and being that dad every girl wished she had. To the both of you, I'm truly sorry for all the fence posts I destroyed learning to pitch, but deep down, back then, I knew if I broke the fence off, I was pitching faster and getting better, but now I know in my adulting years I could see why this caused you so much agony. Sisters, luckily I have 3 of those that supported me growing up playing the sport I love. They were there through my greatest accomplishments and there my lows. I am grateful I had these 3 in the stands encouraging me to be the best player I could be at each level of play, as a Wildcat, as a Raider, and as a Eureka College Red Devil. Thank you, Dottie, Amber, and Savannah. Meadow, I'm so grateful I was able to share so many Eureka College memories with you and be one of the ones to help you on your journey. Continue to strive for what you want and you will get there. To my husband and James, I am thankful to bring you back to my stomping grounds and getting to show you both what I experienced as a student athlete here at Eureka. Ryan, softball has always been my go-to, and I love that you listen to all my stories about being a Red Devil, and incorporate softball into the things we do and some of the important things in life. James, I hope to instill what I instilled in you, or instilled in me so many years ago, and hope you follow your dreams in your future years. Believe in yourself, and you can do whatever you put your mind to. Eureka College, thank you for a great experience in the classroom and on the field and letting me accomplish several dreams playing college softball and receiving a college degree. I feel honored to say I've been proud to say that I've been inducted into the Eureka College Hall of Fame, class of 2021, along with my sister Savannah, Ron, Daniel, the 2013 football team, shout out to my brother-in-law Matthew, and the 85-86 men's basketball team, and also with the class of 2020. I would like to end you on this, and a quote that Coach Neff often referred to all the time I knew her, was "Good things happen to good people." Thank you.
Congratulations, Tommy, and thank you, Coach Neff. I think I was on the Knox road trip, Coach Neff. Our final inductee this afternoon is from the class of 2005, the Hall of Fame class of 2021, Denny Walker. He will be presented this morning by our former head coach, Daryl Crouch.
Probably be your tallest speaker, so fellow missing out there. Okay, first I'd like to thank you all for staying around. to honor these great student athletes. Probably one of the best honors I've had in a long time was when Danny called me up and asked if I would introduce him, and truly feel blessed to be able to do that and honor you. I would also like to thank, I have mentors that are in this room, Coach Schweitzer and Shuster. Paul Small was here for a while. I was fortunate, not just from the coaching aspect, but from the teaching aspect. That was one of the other things different when you're a D3 person. You're going to teach and you're going to coach, and you're a teacher first. Just like I'm back in the high school world now for the last 17 years. You are a teacher first and a coach second where I'm at. So thank you all, because you all helped shape my life too and made me the person I am today. I'd like to give a shout out to Ron and to Kevin. Just because I got a chance to be here when they were here and see them. And you know, you get to the Hall of Fame, I'm sure both the young ladies that were just up here, you get here by being a practice player first, and how you approach the game and how you approach what you're going to do. And Danny will be the same when I talk about you, but like, they were competitors in practice, and that just made them that much better in the game. You know, Ron talked about offensive line and how the battle with our D-line, but the iron sharpens iron. And Hennigas, the guys that he went with were beasts. And he was probably the only guy that really sharpened us out of that group after Greg Geik was gone. I mean, we dominated those guys for the most part. So for an offensive lineman, I think the hugest honor you could ever have is to be, you know, either chosen as a captain of your team or to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. So hats off to you. Very proud of you on that. It's a very good honor. I'm going to get to our man, Denny Walker. I'd like to say a shout out to him and both the Davis brothers that are here, because they didn't come from silver spoons and easy places. You know, you two, you're a testament to what you can do if you work hard. I mean, you're both successful young men, came out of Peoria, came out of Manual High School, and have made great lives for yourselves. So proud of you both on that standpoint, and got to see you as college players. With Danny, I'll talk about his stats a little bit first, but they really don't tell you who he is. He was a 4-year starter for us here. So anytime you're a 4-year starter, especially in the football world, that's not easy to pull off, because you have to body up against bigger people, stronger people. Of those 4 years, 3 years, he was an all-conference player for us. He finished his career here with 109 solos, 180 assists for 199 total tackles. And he had to share the wealth. We had some good players at the time he was here. So it wasn't like he was the only linebacker we had that played in that time. 12 and a half tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. And one of the best honors that you can ever have is to be a captain of your sport. I mean, that's a true testament to who you are. You're the alpha of your team when your peers look at you and think that you're a person worthy to represent them in the field and on the stadium setting, and in the other part of the world where you walk through classrooms and you're out in the public eye. So that's the hugest honor I think you can ever have. Even over I know the Hall of Fame is a great thing, but when you are picked that way, you're a special person out of your team when someone looks at you as a captain. I want to talk about Danny and where he came from. We were fortunate. I never watched a film on Denny Walker before we got him here. Coach Blakely had played here, was a great player, was coach and AD, I think, at that time at your school at Hales Franciscan. Called me up. He was like, hey, I got a young man that I think would be a great candidate for Eureka College. Made the trip up, visited with him. You always, like, as a coach, you usually end up going and you do a home visit. And I can remember calling Danny and like, hey, I'm gonna come back and see you. He's like, you can't come to like my neighborhood. Like, he's like, you gotta meet me at school. Like, he grew up, and I just know Chicago area because I grew up total opposite of these 3 young men that are sitting up here. Rock Chip Road, out in the country. Only knew about Chicago because I played at a bigger college and I had a ton of buddies from up that way. But he's from like down in the 49th and Cottage Grove area. Not like the just easy country road that I grew up on, man. He grew up in a different world, right? And to come here in the middle of the cornfields and trust Coach Blakely and trust me and his mom to have the faith to send him down and let him come here, total different world. I'm sure just like the first time I was an 18-year-old and I went home with buddies to Chicago and I saw their world, I'm sure when you walk down and you're like, yeah, your stadium's here in between a cornfield and a trailer court, and different world for you, right? But came here, trusted us, gave us his heart and soul. I can remember never seeing film again, and the first time in practice, we had a tailback named Greg McBroom that was a beast. And Danny was a freshman and rocked him and put him down, and I was like, this dude's probably gonna be okay, because Greg McBroom was an all-conference player for us and was a solid player and got people's respect that day in practice as an 18-year-old young man. But I just think from where you came from and where you are today, you are one of the greatest success stories. If this college wanted to put somebody out there, it is you and you two, my friends in the front row right there, from where you've gone and what you have done. You know, him coming here, his beautiful wife, just said 20 years ago, right? Right here. Like, his legacy is much more than football. You know, his legacy is right across that row. He came here, worked his tail off, graduated, which is the biggest point, was a student athlete, and all you all that are sitting out there, you're student athletes. Like, I came from the world where we were athletes that went to class, different world. And now with the NIL that they have, it's gonna be a worse world out there for that, of just ruining that. But student athletes came here, got a criminal justice degree, has gone on, and that's provided for him and his family, and is a stand-up young man, gentle. When Danny was here, I don't know if my son was even 3 years old, but my son, it was just funny, because like he's from that same country out in the middle of nowhere world, and like loved seeing Danny, loved being around Danny, and for him, it was like Will Crouch is about as white as the back of that card. He's the whitest kid you would ever know. And here's Danny, this young black man, and he was just like drawn to him. Would talk about him and talk about our other players too, but like two different ends of the world. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm lucky to have had you in my life, to put things in perspective of how things are. And I think our world today could use a lot more of that. But I want to let him get up here. I want to introduce you. Would you please come up to the stage, Danny? But like, his success story is way beyond X and O's.
All right. Thank you, Coach Krause, for the great introduction. Thank you, EC Selection Committee, for the nomination and induction into the Hall of Fame. It's truly an honor and a blessing.
Bring it up high. You can just hold it now that you pulled it out. I probably just took you out of the Hall of Fame. Go ahead, it's yours. I'm not.
For the note, I'm still paying tuition here in this. It's okay. If I bend over, I ain't gonna be able to get back up. You can hear me now? Man. No, not a good look. Is that better? All right. So, like I was saying, it's a great honor to be selected for any Hall of Fame, and to be up here and had a great introduction, have my family here, have my friends that I play football with, some people that I don't know, that I heard their stories. It was great. But the crazy part is, the last time I was on this stage, was homecoming, I don't know, like 2001. And it was not for honor, but it was homecoming week, and I don't know, I was crawling around on the stage. It was, I guess I was hypnotized. So, but nonetheless, I'm here now, and it's a different situation, and I'm grateful for that. I attended here, like I said, from 2001 to 2005, prior to my collegiate career here. I attended Hales Franciscan High School, which is located on the south side of Chicago. I had so many memories growing up. Some of them were good, and some of them were not so favorable. It was a struggle to live in peace, just let alone just to be successful. But some of the people that I met along that journey helped me to stay on the right path, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the people that help. And like it was mentioned by my coach here, it was definitely a culture shock coming to Eureka, and he had mentioned Coach Blakely, who attended here as a member of the Hall of Fame. I trusted him, and he introduced me to the school, like was said, and I'm also grateful for that because that was a life-altering event coming here, and it was a great path. I mean that. It's changed my life forever. And some of the values that I picked up from here and I obtained carried with me to today. One of the biggest things that I can remember. Well, let me back up. I'm gonna start out by saying when I first had met Coach Crouch, when he was talking, he introduced me and he was talking about coming to get me from school. The funniest thing was, if you all familiar with a PT Cruiser, that's what Eureka College had for recruiting. And there's a PT Cruiser, I don't know, maybe it was about, I don't know, like this big, all the way around. And this guy could get out of the front seat. They try to help me with the bags. And it was comical. I'll never forget it. And that ride, we had a 3-hour ride from Chicago to back here. And you can see his knees touching the steering wheels as he's trying to drive. And I tried to be cool because I didn't want to, ruin the first impression, so. But it was just to come here and realize that this is definitely a different environment from which I'm used to and I was accustomed to. It was on the brink, I was pretty much on my last, I had that breakdown prior to coming here. Just gang activity, and it was just living and dying was definitely something that I was fearful of. And when I came here, it was a totally different world. It was like I said, it was a life-changing event, and I realized that there was more than just my neighborhood. It was more than just trying to survive. It was more than gangs, but it was a place where I saw peace. I saw people leave their doors unlocked, and I couldn't understand that. And I seen bikes laying around. I didn't get that either. I didn't understand that at all. But when I came here, it was that moment that I realized that, hey, this is an environment that I could thrive in. It was the peace of mind that I needed, the safety that I longed for. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all the people that were here and that taught and coached, and Coach Shuster, and how she presented her student athlete is how she was in class. So, and listening to you speak again and attend your class and how excited you were, and the emotions, the myriad of emotions that you took me through reminded me of school and sitting in class and listening to you talk. And I can only imagine how it was playing for you. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for you too. I had a great group of coaches. There was Coach Crouch. There was Coach Crocky, Coach Thomas, Coach Nyleen, Coach Vajano, and of course Coach Barth, who's not here with us right now. He's getting ready to get those guys going on the football field for a victory. I had a great group of teammates. A couple of guys are right here, and one of the most, Kevin Davis. I appreciated playing with him. How he presented to, and his confidence also was reminding me of how he played. And all that trash talking, you know, and gloating, I was like, yep, that's him. That's that guy. He still does that. And I remember a Monster. I forgot that was his nickname. We're friends on Facebook, and I see family pictures, and, you know, I see Keith too. Keith is he's a little quiet, more humble. At least to me. This guy, I'm a monster. You should call me the monster when we play. Like, nah, you know, because he was a class under me, and I refused to, and it kept me on my toes. But I could see, you know, in Keith and how he presented him, and also Kevin when he had mentioned that rivalry and that brotherly love. I couldn't get mad at him, you know. I understood where he was coming from, and it wasn't like I was butthurt about it, and it hurt my confidence. It motivated me because I would get mad and like, this guy's trying to take my spot and step it up, but then I was like, you know, this is a good guy. So I was just all over the place with him, and but he reminded me that he won't catch me even. I don't care if he calls himself a monster or not. So. I also had some great fans. The greatest fan of them all is my wife, Emily. I often played in the zone, and I couldn't hear anyone or anything except for coaches. I mean, I could hear Emily. That was the only exception. Emily does the same thing at church, a lot of amens, and I know that's right. Right on cue. I figured she would say that. And oftentimes that takes me back to when I played football here. You know, I connect the feelings to, and I could hear her praising across the church, to her praising or cheering when I'm playing football, and I can hear her across the field. I remember experience prior to coming here, towards the end of my summer, I denied a relationship with God. However, it was that last week before heading out and coming here that I had a newfound relationship based off the simplest things. It came from those supporting me in Park Manor Church. God knew my needs, and he provided. Once experiencing this, I felt this journey was meant to be. I made my mind up to give it everything that I had. I was motivated not to waste this opportunity. It was my destiny. And I had done some of the grunt work behind it. I already laid the groundwork. I did the tough thing by preparing myself. I trained all summer with my god brother. We ran the sands and beaches in Chicago. We snuck into the YMCA and lifted. I learned from different athletes and from different trainers. It was starting to make sense to me. God, faith, works. I could trust God. I prepared myself so I knew that I could trust myself. I could trust my instincts, which does, to this day, still comes from my heart. As mentioned, I had some hard times growing up, but I was not willing to accept those ill conditions. I would use that as motivation to push myself. I would use it to keep me hungry. I was motivated by it. It made me look inside myself, and I didn't have to search hard in order to push myself. Because the motivation, mostly, I would say, was not to go back to where I came from. And to this day, that same motivation is still there, and that's make sure that my family doesn't have to live how I live, or anyone else that's not up here that can share the same testimony and it relate to me. So that's the motivation. And those things going back to what I mentioned earlier, and one of the memories is Coach Crouch. And that's the part I left out when I was talking. I got caught up in the PT Cruiser thing. But one of the things that he emphasized was this is what's important. God, football, family. And I can't get it out of my head. I never could. And I was here when I was 18, 19 years old. I'm 39 now, and it still resonates. And only thing that's changed is I take football out. It depends on the season. Playing football was a season, literally and figuratively. Now, the season is different for me. And so it's God, football, or God, family, and whatever else that I have going on. And whether in that moment, I guess, is the best way to put it. So if I'm at one of my children's events, that's that moment. And that's what's important. And so those things still stick with me. But once I became instinctual, the game had changed. It made everything so simple for me. It was about getting to the ball. I studied film, and Coach Crouch had game film quizzes too, and I passed those. And to wrap this up, the final thing I'd like to share with you is vision versus sight. If you will, just allow me to define the difference between the two as I see it. Vision is intangible, something unseen by the eyes, but can be felt by the soul. It is one's heart's desire. Sight is tangible, physical, what can often be seen by the eyes, close enough to physically see or touch. What I would like for all of us to do is to wield our vision into sight and to have enough courage to grab our visions when they're within sight. And finally, here are the biggest things that I want you to remember. Believe in God. Trust that God is willing you to victory. And prepare yourselves and trust your instincts enough to go after what you envision. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for the induction. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Danny, and thank you, Coach Crouch. That wraps up our program today. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We're certainly honored to induct these 10 individuals and these 3 teams. As I mentioned this morning, our football game is scheduled for 4 o'clock. We certainly would like to invite everyone to stick around. There are food trucks over in the tailgate area. There are inflatable toys and things for young children. I think that may have been moved inside the gym due to the weather, but there are plenty of things to do here on campus leading into that game. So just want to say thank you again to everyone, and we'll see you soon.